Da, da, da. Welcome, family, to another wonderful, entertaining, educating edition of The Art of His Thinks. This is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. That's News Free Dixie for the 21st century. I'm your host for this empowerment infotainment session, Brother Ron, also known as R2C2H2, The Art of His, and this is We All Be Land. And you are welcome because you are not just guests, but you are truly family, and we love you madly. So I'm coming back with y'all once again. People been asking me, I'm gonna do another podcast. I want to do podcasts, but sometimes I just be overwhelmed with stuff. I'm just trying to get through. People think this the weekend. No, it's the week began. No, Sunday is the week began. It's not the weekend. Saturday is the weekend, but Sunday is actually the week began. It begins on Sunday. Sunday kind of love. And we got a lot of love for Sis Star. Y'all know her. Boys and girls, scholars and laymen, ladies and gents, the wokish and the sleepish, the people and the sheeple. We all know her as Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Lou Hamer. She became a righteous ancestor 44 years ago on this day, March the 14th, which is, in Women's History Month. So it's interesting. She made her departure on March the 14th up in Mound Bayou, Mississippi, and only 59 years young. She was actually young to leave so early, so soon. But it's amazing when you think about this amazing Black woman that she didn't really do her God work until she turned 44 years old. She didn't really start doing the work that she's renowned for until she was 44 years old. That's when she found out she could actually vote. So she's been living 44 years on this planet, in this country, not knowing that she had the right to vote. Lived all her life on a plantation down south in Mississippi. But like Malcolm said, anything south of Canada is Mississippi, is the South. So we will get a tribute to Sister Fannie Lou, but also talk about the spirit of Fannie Lou, what's going on right now, the zeitgeist of the time, the spirit of the times. So we're going to talk about that, try to tie it into other things, but it's an honor to speak on this woman. She is one of my sheroos. I love Fannie Lou. It's something about her fighting spirit, her love of people, her love to serve the people. And she willingly gave her life in the process because she was tortured. They didn't put an assassin's bullet in her brain, even though they firebombed her home and all type of death threats, even beat her into an inch of her life. They almost killed her in a jail cell up in Winona, Mississippi. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. But I think that, the reason why I want to do this show, because I know that we just observed the 1 year anniversary of the death of the ancestor Breonna Taylor up in Louisville. She got killed on Friday 13th, March 13th last year. And it's a year later. I can't believe it's been a year later, and dealing with the so-called pandemic and all this stuff going on. So much has happened within a span of a year. But I find it interesting that a lot of times Black folks, we are good at elevating the victims, but not the fighters. And no disrespect to her. And also the family of George Floyd, I believe that was recently awarded or rewarded. I don't know how you phrase that. They gave him $27 million for the police taking the life of brother George Floyd. And shout out to that family. I mean, I know, what's his name? Benjamin Crump was involved in that, as well as he was also involved in the Breonna Taylor thing where the family got a bag as well, too. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. I mean, I don't have no ill will towards Benjamin Crump. I don't have no problem with him. He's doing his job and he does it well. But I know a lot of us want justice, but it's just us. Like Richard Pryor says, just us. Y'all want to go into these systems and tell me we're going to get justice. And, they won't even give Trump, look what Trump was the president. What did the court do for Trump? So what are they going to do for you? So what I'm saying is I just want us to be reminded and to remind ourselves to honor those people who actually dedicated themselves to the upliftment. Like, Baba Dick Gregory will always say, Brother Ron, it's not how you live, but how you died that a lot of times people remember you. And George Floyd, remember Radio Raheem, Do the Right Thing, horrible death. They say he was a gentle giant, all that stuff. But I don't know what type of work. I'm not really aware of the life that George Floyd led. I heard people talking about the life he led or lead. I'm not interested in critiquing that, but what I'm saying is there's people that have dedicated themselves, dedicate their lives to fighting for our people, willingly gave their lives, even though their lives were taken from them for our people. We don't talk about them. We don't remember, like, where's the bag for Darren Seals' family, King D Seals in Ferguson? Where's his bag? Where's his family bag? You know what I'm saying? Where's the millions of dollars for his family? Because that brother died the horrible death he died and nothing to be done about it. Where's the follow-up? Where's the resolution in dealing with that tragedy of that young man being cut down in his life, not even in his prime? Cut down. Nobody talks about King D Seals in terms of mainstream, but to me, it's like Fred Hampton. King D Seals like Fred Hampton Sr. Both of these black men were gone too soon, both cut down in their 20s. King D exposed the tale of two BLM movements, right? You got the Black Lives Matter grassroots that started in places like Ferguson. Then you got the LLC, which secured the bag, but you got people still going through hell that participated in the Ferguson Mike Brown movement of 2014. You still got people caught up in the system from 2014. All that money that was raised last year by Black Lives Matter LLC, where's the defense fund? Where is the bailout fund? I mean, what are they doing? They elected Corey Bush out of Ferguson, out of that movement, to Congress, right? Is she talking about doing anything? Is she supportive of what Mike Brown, not Mike Brown, what is it, Mike Brown Sr.? The father of Mike Brown, I believe he's Mike Brown Sr. If y'all correct me, I don't got no notes in front of me, but he asked for $20 million from Black Lives Matter LLC to do this work because they did come off of the Mike Brown thing. I was down in Ferguson when all this stuff started coming out and manifesting. Then you got the videos. Let's go online, look at what Darren Seals, King D, was saying about the whole situation, exposing certain elements, kind of like he was like a modern day Malcolm X. And it's not a coincidence. Is it a coincidence that both Malcolm X and Darren Seals were Tauruses? King D was a Taurus, and I'm a Taurus, and Fred Hampton was a Virgo. But in Tauruses, man, we're adept at communication. You look at Minister Farrakhan, he's a Taurus. He's born May 11th. Malcolm was born May 19th, and King D was a Taurus. And he was like, in the spirit of brother Malcolm, message to the grassroots, exposing the whole thing through a play-by-play. Just check out some of his videos, save them to your archives. He told us what they were doing. He told us. He saw it when it was manifesting in Ferguson, on the streets of Ferguson, how people who claimed they were activists, who were labeled the activists in the vanguard of the movement, were like, in their apartments, tweeting online, not really participating in organizing on the ground, and how, they were exposed. But nobody talks about that because the history is always in rewrite. It's always a re-edit when it comes to history. Her story, his story. Trying to see if I coming through.
So this.
Y'all can hear me. Let me know. Okay, it's frozen. I'm just trying to make sure this is for the interest world technology. I think y'all can hear me. I'm just trying to make sure. Okay, I think it's coming through now. Well, if they gave us, Brother Dominique, thanks for tuning in. Okay, thanks. Well, if they gave us reparations and then the economy crashed, do you think they used that against us? They never been for us. How can they use anything against us? They never been for us. They never did us a fair deal. You understand? They never had a fair deal for us. It's like you go back to what Sun Ra, the great Sun Ra, jazz genius, mystic. He did an interview up in Detroit back in '81, I believe, Detroit Journal or something like this. Beautiful sister interviewed him. He talked about why we lost. We lost because we gave up everything to be with them, meaning the whites. We gave up our sovereignty. We gave up everything to be with them. And no, I'm gonna tell y'all this. Yes, some of us came from Africa off the boat. Some of us are already here. You get start study your family trees. You see all types of people like Indians, like high cheekbones. They could be dark skin, light skin, long hair. Got all types of people that will be classified as Native Americans in my family. So they owe us double reparations. They owe us for the slave trade and they owe us for the taking of our lands. But it's now's the time to be really studying our family trees, looking at the atrocities, letting them know about the atrocities. You know what's interesting today on Sunday, Al Gore, a son of Tennessee, came to town to Memphis to aid, show his support and solidarity with our community activists in protesting the Byhalia oil pipeline that they're trying to build that will run from Byhalia, Mississippi into South Memphis. That's historic Black Memphis, South Memphis, and the low, economic community of South Memphis, which is historically Black. They trying to poison our waters. I mean, it's not that they trying to, but they're greedy, right? But the love of money is the root of all evil, right? So they trying to run a pipeline underneath the ground above the aquifer. Memphis, we get our water from a well, aquifer, right? Our water comes from the ground, from the well. Some of the best drinking water they say on the planet, supposedly, is in Memphis. So they are willing to risk our water being contaminated like Flint, Michigan, in order to make a profit, and does not profit the people of Memphis, the greater community, which is majority Black. Memphis is a chocolate city, but historically we've been suppressed and repressed. You got to understand, the white power machine here did their best to destroy Black self-determination in Memphis. I talked about last week about the People's Grocery lynching of 1892, where 3 Black men, Thomas Moss, Calvin McDowell, Will Henry Stewart, were lynched because they were successful businessmen in competition with white businessmen and beating them at their own game. They were lynched because they were successful at economics. And one of Thomas Moss's last words was, "Tell my people go west because they cannot get no justice here." Ivy Wells, who was the godmother to his daughter, published those words in her newspaper and told and encouraged Black folks to leave Memphis. 6,000 Black people left Memphis. A lot of them went to Oklahoma, to Indian Territory, to start Black Wall Street. Businessmen like Robert Church Sr., the first Black millionaire of the South, allegedly, he financed what became known as Black Wall Street. And now we are in the centennial year of the Black Wall Street massacre, a mass lynching. Because we got to understand, a lot of lynchings occurred because Black folks, they want to keep us from being competitive and successful in business and economics. When you control your politics and your economics, you control your destiny. When you control your food path, you control your destiny. These guys were grocery guys. They was in the grocery business. Memphis was the 5th largest wholesale grocery market in the country. It's a distribution hub of the country. That's too much power for Black folks to have. You think about it, they talking about Black folks being racist towards Asians. You got Koreatown and Chinatown. You got all those. But where's Little Africa? Black Wall Street was Little Africa, right? Africa Town. You can't have no Ethiopia here. Like I talked about, Dr. Clyde Anderson wanted to do an Africa Town up in Detroit. They won't give him the funds. But look at Dearborn, Michigan. It's like Little Iraqi Town. At least it was when I went there back in 2016. A lot of Iraqis settled in Dearborn, thriving businesses. Ain't been in the country since the 90s. Only been in the country since the 1990s in that type of capacity. But they were flourishing. Black folks been here for generations, for centuries. We still ain't got what we need to get. I wonder why. Is it on us? Thank you, brother. Supreme L, baby. Love you, madly. Much respect. Thanks for tuning in. I know I'll be going on a tangent. I'm trying to keep it like within 90 minutes. We are indigenous to the land. You know, some of us did come out the boat. Look, I got folks from the West Indies, but I also got folks from Carolinas, from Georgia, from Mississippi. They've been here for a while. I had a grandma, Pat Lee, my great grandmother, or my great great grandmother. She died in 1988, I believe. She's almost 100 years old, but she had long hair. And you look at her as a young woman, she's like a Native American. They said she was Indian, and I believe I got people. I look at their photos, you can tell they were Indian. I ain't talking about from India, the country, but they were from here, where they so-called Indians. What we got to do is we got to learn how to come together on things that are beneficial to us all. Forget about all the differences, because we all different, as groups as well as individuals. But let's agree upon certain things so we can get this bag and get our land and get our bread. I think it's imperative that we do these things. But we gotta learn this history, man. They lied to us all our lives, man. The only reason I know a lot of things I know is because I do my own research. I research for myself, and also I talk to elders. No, a lot of older people don't know too much of anything, but there's some older people, elders that do know stuff. And it's important to get these stories. And that's why I'm talking about Fannie Lou Hamer. She should be better known. We should be encouraged by Fannie Lou Hamer. Like I said, she didn't know she could vote till she was 44 years old. She did not know she could vote. Yeah, they fear so much that it doesn't even make sense. You know why they fear? Is because they try to figure out we did all these things to these people, yet they still so loving and caring. They still so we call it resilient. I remember, I ain't gonna never forget reading this. The Clarion Ledger did a 30th anniversary edition about the Emmett Till lynching or murder. The Clarion Ledger is the I guess the primary newspaper in Jackson, Mississippi. So they did a 30th anniversary thing. They went into the Mississippi Delta to find Roy Bryant. Now, Roy Bryant was married at the time to Carolyn Bryant back in 1955. Carolyn Bryant accused Emmett of making unwanted advances towards a person in the Bryant store, which led to his death. Matter of fact, she was there that night at Mose Wright's house, Emmett's great uncle, and identified him. So I do not understand why she's not an accessory or accomplice to the crime, and why her old self is not in a prison like Bill Cosby for some BS. But that's another story. But they found Roy Bryant. Roy Bryant and his brother J.W. Malum, along with some black males. There was some black folks involved in the kidnapping, torture, and lynching of Emmett Till. They beat the rap. They beat the murder trial case, right? They was going to get tried for kidnapping, but they fell through because their character assassinated Emmett Till and his father, who's been dead since World War II, who was executed by the army under very questionable circumstances. So they used his father to poison the well, so to speak, in the minds of public opinion and, down south, whatever. Because a lot of white folks didn't care for Brian or his brother, J.W. Malum. J.W. Malum had a reputation for being very vicious and all that stuff. He's a World War II veteran, but he was known for being a very vicious fellow. So when they started bragging to William Bradford Huey of Look magazine in an article in the aftermath, they were alienated by both the black and white community in the Delta, in Money, Mississippi, where they were from. So they had to leave the state for a number of years, and they had a lot of hard, tough luck. So people think they got away with it. They had a hard life after what happened to Emmett Till. So Roy Bryant made his way back to Mississippi. I believe his brother J.W. Malum was dead by this time for several years. And so, the national news media found out where he was at, like Good Morning America, stuff like that. But the Clarion Ledger interviewed him, and he said something like, back in the 50s, black people were afraid. Back in the 50s, black people were afraid, right? But today in 85, they're not afraid, but they don't know. Because if they knew who I was and what I did, I would be a dead man. the fact that you could be fearless and have no knowledge of self does you no good in a system like this. To be fearless and not to know who your enemies are, the history of your people, the song of your people, is really to be a fool, is to be a target, is to be of no good, of no use to yourself or other people. Because what good for you to be fearless if you don't know which war to fight or which army to sign up for? So this is why it's important that we talk about our ancestors and about what happened to us, the spirit of Sankofa, looking back towards the past for inspiration for the future. But it is very much important that we understand that we are indigenous to the land, and not only indigenous to the land, but indigenous to the planet. We are the original people. It's not just in the Americas, but around the whole globe. So we got to state those claims and stop, making fun of people because they don't agree with your worldview. And we did come out the boat. Some of us came out the boat earlier because we circumnavigated the globe. Some of us came over here earlier than others, and all of us did not come as slaves, but we was already here. That's no doubt. But yeah, most of black folks didn't agree with King. It's like a lot of black folks didn't agree with Malcolm X, but no, we it's hindsight is 2020, right? And a lot of black ministers didn't care for Dr. King. I remember when Reverend Wright spoke at the University of Memphis back on April 3rd, 2009, before the I guess there would be the day before the 41st anniversary of the King assassination. He spoke at the University of Memphis. I ain't gonna forget what he said. He said in Chicago, when they heard Dr. King was assassinated in Memphis, a lot of prominent black ministers in Chicago celebrated with their congregation that he was killed. They were happy that King was dead. You understand? I remember reading about how during the Montgomery bus boycott, ministers from around the country was trying to get Daddy King, Dr. King's father, to take him from Montgomery and put his ass behind the pulpit in Ebenezer, because he's screwing up stuff. And Dr. King stood up to his father and said, "I'm not leaving." And years later, Daddy King said he was glad that his son stood up to him and stayed true to himself and committed to his path. So you have those type of stories, right? Everybody, Dr. King called a meeting for his Poor People campaign in Virginia for 100 plus ministers, and nobody showed up. So he called a meeting for over 100 ministers to help him with his Poor People campaign, and none of the ministers showed up. There are so many stories like that. When Malcolm X got assassinated in the Audubon Ballroom, just a short few hours later, a black church held a dance in the same spot where they assassinated Malcolm X in the same day. You kill Malcolm X and y'all gonna have a dance in the same spot? Wow, that's crazy, right? But our people are so confused and lost, man. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Yes, we're gonna pay our respects to the great Fannie Lou Hamer. But let me do something right quick. Make sure my equipment don't malfunction. Conjunction, junction, what's your function? Something like that. Let me be right back, family. Let me just make sure these plugs are working so we can start talking about Fannie Lou Hamer, get into it. But thank y'all for tuning in to We All Be. It's News Free Dixie for the 21st century. What I can do. And thank y'all for the donations. We appreciate it. We love y'all madly. Okay. Now, what is that about, Brother Ron? I'm about to explain this. History is a weapon. I think y'all can hear me. This picture is interesting. It's a picture from the 60s. Let's say maybe back in 1964. You see some prominent people in that picture. On my left, on the left is Maya Angelou with her sunglasses on. And of course, you see Malcolm X in the middle. There's a black man standing next to Malcolm X. That's my cousin, Julian Mayfield. I want to talk a little bit about him because this is why it's important to know your history. And next to him is a sister named Sylvia Boone, who became the first African-American woman to get her tenure at Yale University. These are some of our top, best, and brightest black intellectual scholars and activists. And my cousin, Julian Mayfield, is among those numbered. I had talked to his son, Raphael, last week. And I'm going to bring on some people to talk about Julian Mayfield because he's one of our forgotten revolutionaries. I had no idea I was related to this type of man. You know, it's amazing that he's kin of mine. And I'm going to honor him. And it's amazing, man. So Julian Mayfield, he was born in 1928 in Greer, South Carolina, but he was raised in Washington, D.C. Went to Paul Lawrence Dunbar High School, yet one of the greatest black high schools in the history of the country. He went there, went into the Army, went to Lincoln University, all that stuff. But what's unique about him, he was an activist, a revolutionary, a playwright, a novelist, did all this stuff, man. He actually, when Malcolm came to Ghana, he used to stay with my cousin Julian and his family. My cousin's wife, Dr. Anna, she was a Puerto Rican sister, and she was a revolutionary in her own right. She was the personal physician for Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois when he was in Ghana. So my cousin's wife, my cousin-in-law, she was the personal physician for Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois. And like I said, Malcolm used to stay in their home when he visited Ghana. And also my cousin worked for Kwame Nkrumah while he was in Ghana. He was a newspaper man as well, too. He was an editor of newspapers, not only in Ghana, but also all over the place in Spain and other different places. And, you know, we talk about Judas and the Black Messiah, right? My cousin did a movie called Uptight that came out in 1968. Y'all should check it out. It's on YouTube. And focus on that. So much history. We got to learn who we are. Shall I find it? It's amazing to find out, man, because it makes sense. Like, I always feel like I was weird. Found out that I'm just doing the blueprint. I'm just following the blueprint that the righteous ancestors in my family left for me to follow, which is crazy. But let me find it. And thank y'all for being patient. This the movie. This is the poster the movie did called Uptight. It's like if you like Judas and the Black Messiah, I believe the people that wrote Judas and did Judas and the Black Messiah, they had to see this movie called Uptight that my cousin did. You know, all-star ensemble black cast. He helped write the screenplay. He was the lead. My cousin was interesting to me. When I saw that movie, I was amazed at his acting skills. It's like he was a leading man, but he was an unconventional leading man. He was not the Hollywood pretty boy type look like, you know, Harry Belafonte or Sidney Poitier. He didn't look like them. You know, they were all from the islands, right? But this is like FBA, Adolph's black man. He was tall, dark, and handsome, but he was rugged. He had rugged, good looks, very masculine dude. But he was not no pretty boy. So I know some people made a point to point that out. But if he didn't do what he did, because I saw echoes of Wendell Pierce, I saw echoes of Forrest Whitaker, and how he portrayed himself on the screen. So to me, he opened the door for people like that, you know. So he was a trailblazer. I'm surprised he didn't do any more movies or did a lot more than he did. But, you know, he's dealing with Hollywood. But that movie is like, it's great because if you like Judas and Black Messiah, that movie goes there because it's set after the assassination of Dr. King in Memphis. It opens up with the assassination of Dr. King in Memphis with his funeral in Atlanta. So Memphis is featured in the movie, and it's set in Cleveland. The movie is set in Cleveland. You know, they shot Judas and Black Messiah in Cleveland. So that's interesting. So I'm sure I would like to interview Shaka King and some of those guys and say, did you see this movie Uptight it came out in 1968? They probably saw this movie because it's based because my cousin plays a Judas character in the movie. Like he sells out a charismatic Fred Hampton dude that was played by Max Julian. If you know who Max Julian, if you know anything about blaxploitation movies, you know that Max Julian was Goldie in the Mac. So Max Julian plays this charismatic community organizing revolution, kind of like a Fred Hampton. Now, this movie came out in 68, and my cousin sells him out. You know, he takes the reward money from the police for $1,000, sell him out, but he was committed to the movement, but elements within the movement betrayed him. And, you know, it's a powerful movie. I'm going to tell you something. Ruby Dee, along with my cousin, also helped write the script. And Ruby Dee is in the movie. Now, you know, Ruby Dee was born in 1922. This movie came out in 68. So she was like, what, 46 or 45 years old? Man, she was fine. I didn't have no idea that she was that gorgeous. I know she's pretty, but it made me appreciate her beauty so much more, knowing that she was almost 50 years old, looking that damn good. She was sexy, man. She was looking good. You wouldn't thought she was in her 40s the way she was looking in that movie, man. But it's like a powerful ensemble cast, right? Powerful ensemble cast. And y'all, it's on YouTube, Uptight. It's about, I think, an hour and 44 minutes long. And it's worth watching. It's a classic. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I could watch that movie over and over again without any problem. My cousin did an amazing job. The cast was amazing. Incredible job. And so he said, well, you gonna talk about Fannie Lou Hamer? I'm gonna get to Fannie Lou Hamer. I'm gonna get to her. Just warming y'all up a little bit. I'm good to Fannie Lou. But I'm learning so much about my family tree. I remember I had a near-death experience almost 11 years ago. Had a near-death experience. This voice came to me. It was called The Source. He said, you could call me The Source. It was very like a disembodied voice that was speaking to me. And I didn't know how close to death I was, but the voice was telling me, Ron, look into your paternal grandmother's side of the family. She comes from a unique line of people on that side. It said it's people in your family. I'm not calling them superheroes and nothing like that, but they are very interesting people on that side of the family. And I remember my Aunt Stephanie, who passed away last year, rest in peace and love, Aunt Stephanie. She called me not that long after the near-death experience I had. And she basically confirmed what that voice told me, that we got some unique people, very interesting, accomplished, creative, like iconoclastic people in our family. So that's not even the only, like I said, I'm related to Curtis Mayfield, and people love Curtis Mayfield, but this may be my favorite Mayfield to be related to. I talked about Sister Rosetta Tharpe. I talked about Marvin Gaye. They say Marvin Gaye, old timers, elders said Marvin Gaye. I don't know what the connection is yet to Marvin Gaye, but Julian Mayfield, it makes me appreciate me. And I got a lot of work to do. He ended up dying at the age of 56. He died of a heart attack, I believe, in 1984 in Maryland. He was a professor at Howard University. But I'm just now finding out about this ancestor. I'm looking forward to learning more. His son told me that he had an autobiography that was unpublished. I think it's at the Schomburg Center up in Harlem. So I'm going to try to find a way to give me a copy of his autobiography and really dive deep into his legacy. And I'm going to do a show with an expert on my uncle. I'm trying to set that up. Not uncle, but my cousin Julian Mayfield. I'm in the process of setting that up right now. This guy who spent a decade studying his political activities. My cousin worked with Fidel Castro. He was close to Robert F. Williams. My cousin was really close to Robert F. Williams. He helped raise money for Robert F. Williams and his gun club and his activities in North Carolina. And I'm gonna talk about that a little bit. And I'm gonna do another show about it. Like I said, I'm gonna have a couple of shows about my cousin. Have an expert on talking about my cousin Julian Mayfield for you all. And y'all didn't look up y'all tree, man, because this get me excited about having my own children to tell them this legacy. And that's my cousin. He was taking a photo by Carl Van Vechten, who took a lot of famous photos of Black people back in the day. But my cousin's unique. He was close to Paul Robeson. I'm a fan of Paul Robeson. I'm a big fan of Paul Robeson. I always tell people that Malcolm X learned how to do public speaking by listening to Paul Robeson talk on the radio. That's how Malcolm learned how to do public speaking. But Julian Mayfield, he actually was his bodyguard. One of his bodyguards when they had that race ride up at the Catskills back in the late 1940s. My cousin Julian Mayfield protected Paul Robeson's life. And like I said, he was a big supporter of Robert F. Williams. I just learned not too long ago that my cousin was down in North Carolina fighting with the Klan and the police with Robert F. Williams, James Foreman, and some other activists and revolutionaries. And when Robert F. Williams and his wife Mabel got in trouble with the law when they got on the FBI most wanted list, it was my cousin that drove Robert F. Williams and Mabel out of North Carolina to Canada. He drove them to Canada. And they got away in his car. So he helped, and not only that, he helped get guns for Robert F. Williams. And I just found out this past week, his gun connect was Bumpy Johnson. Y'all know who Bumpy Johnson is, right? My cousin connected with Bumpy Johnson up in Harlem to get guns for Robert F. Williams. And my cousin was a part of the Communist Party at the time. He was trying to get Robert F. Williams, not Robert F. Williams, he was trying to get Bumpy Johnson to join the Communist Party. And Bumpy said no. So my cousin got guns from Bumpy Johnson. And from my understanding, when they was escaping from the law, because he was targeted by the FBI too. COINTELPRO is real. It's not just, they were targeted by COINTELPRO. So they had submachine guns with them when they was escaping. And they broke down the submachine guns and threw them away in the lake in the Catskills, the same place where he had to defend and protect Paul Robeson's life. So that's my cousin, Julian Mayfield. Y'all should let's learn more about him. But check out that movie Uptight that's on YouTube. It's worth watching because it may have you thinking about a lot of stuff. And it's just amazing, man. I mean, this man lived a full life. He like Dick Gregory. He lived so many lives in one lifetime, And his wife did amazing thing. Like I said, his wife was the personal physician for Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois in Ghana. And they used to host Malcolm when he come to Ghana. When he came to Ghana, he used to stay at their home, my cousin's home. So I'm just now learning all this stuff right now as I do this work. But read a little bit about the Uptight movie. I know who Mark from Anaheim is. I'm very much aware of him. I haven't heard a lot from him recently. But check out the movie Uptight. I'm gonna tell you who's all in it. Raymond St. Jacques, he was in it. He did a great job. He was the leader of the militants, kind of like a Black Panther organization. Ruby Dee did a phenomenal job. She was a woman with kids on welfare, but also she was moonlighting as a hooker to make ends meet along with the food stamps. My cousin Julian Mayfield was a dude known as Tank. He was a rider that got betrayed by the movement, so he became an informant, and it cost a good brother his life. He had Janet McLachlan. That's a beautiful, gorgeous Black woman, Janet McLachlan. She was in the movie. And you know what? I enjoyed Roscoe Lee Brown. Y'all know who Roscoe Lee Brown is. If you see an image of Roscoe Lee Brown, you know who he is because very prolific actor on TV and movies. But he did a phenomenal job as the handler for my cousin, who was known as Tank in the movie. Y'all need to check this movie out. It's deep. It's very deep. And guess who did the music for the movie? Booker T and the MGs, Stax, Memphis. So Memphis everywhere. And the movie came out December 18th, 1968. It's 104 minutes long. Paramount Pictures. It's worth watching, y'all. It's based on the Informer movie from the 30s. The Informer that was by Liam O'Flaherty. But it's set in Dublin, Ireland, that movie, but this movie is set in Cleveland, Ohio. And that movie back in 1935, The Informer, was done by John Ford, the great film director. And the book, it was an adaptation of a book by Liam O'Flaherty called The Informer. So, and Uptight was directed by Jules Dassin. So, let me get back to Fannie Lou Hamer. Let's get back to Fannie Lou. Reading the chat. Yeah, Roscoe Brown. Okay, he went to Lincoln University too. My cousin went to Lincoln University up in Pennsylvania. They probably do got a foul on me. See, I had a Jegna named Judge D. Army Bailey. Y'all, I don't know if y'all familiar with Judge D. Army Bailey, but he's a co-founder what is now known as the National Civil Rights Museum. And he did he did a couple movies. He did How Stella Got a Groove Back. He was the minister in How Stella Got a Groove Back. He was the judge in People versus Larry Flint. You know, Woody Harrelson threw some oranges or something at the judge. He was the black judge in that. So he did a couple movies. He was talking, "Hi, I'm Jeremy Bailey. I'm DeArmond Bailey. I'm Judge Bailey." He talked very proper and he very like confident. He was like an African king the way he walked. He had a lot of swagger. And also back in the day, during the radical days, he was on the city council for Berkeley. He was too radical for Berkeley. They had to do a recall on him. So he ended up having to practice back in Memphis, where he's from. And I remember he wrote a book called The Education of a Black Radical. It's like a memoir about his life as a student activist. And he told me that when he was working on his book, that he did a Freedom of Information request from the government, right? To get see if they had anything on him. Because he remember when he was in Southern University, one of the organizers would tell them, be careful what you say on the phone, because they might be listening to you or whatever. And he think I'm a dude from South Memphis. I'm not that important. Nobody don't care about what I got to say. I'm just a black dude from South Memphis. Come to find out, the government had an extensive file on him from back in the days as a student activist. He ended up getting expelled from Southern University. He got kicked out of Southern University for his activism. Ended up going to school in Massachusetts and was responsible for bringing Malcolm X on campus to speak at this predominantly white school up in Massachusetts. So he said, "Ron, you never know. You know, you think you might not be doing anything because like the dude told him that because you don't think you viable don't mean you ain't valuable or valuable. That the people don't think you're important." Like with Fred Hampton Sr., the government started watching him when he was 14. They started wiretapping his mama's phones. You think about Dr. King family that was watched for 3 generations. They started with Dr. King's grandfather, with his maternal grandfather watching the King family. So I think everybody's being watched. I don't think I'm the only one being watched or being kept an eye on. It's like I asked Dick Gregory about this before he died. I said, "How do you know if a person's an agent?" He said, "You don't know, man. You just do what you got to do. Just go with the flow. I mean, you can't really worry about that doing the work that we do. It is what it is." Yeah, watch the movie, man. Uptight. I'm surprised Real Black hasn't uploaded that to his archives on his YouTube channel. Real Black, like a repository for like, you know, black culture, black excellence and whatnot. I guess it is in my blood. Cause you know what's funny? It's not funny, but my grandmother's father, my paternal grandmother's father, my great grandfather. See, you know, it's so we owe reparations. Cause my great grandfather was from South Carolina. He was born in 1862. This is my great grandfather I'm talking about. He was born in 1862. He had 10 kids late. He had my grandmother. When my grandmother was born, my great grandfather was about 66 years old or something like that. But he was born into slavery in South Carolina back in 1862. And he killed the white neighbor for disrespecting his mom, because the white neighbor would keep a bull by their property line, by their shared property line. And his mom had her clothesline. No, y'all folks know about the elders that keep the clothesline. They ain't have no dryer. They just let nature dry the clothes. So my great grandmother, I guess, had a clothesline by the property line shared with the white neighbor, and the bull would charge at her, threaten her life. And from my understanding, my great grandfather told the white man, "Could you please move your bull away from the property line?" And the white man basically cursed him out and called him nigger. And you know, my great grandfather killed him, and he had to leave South Carolina, changed his name from Perret, because his birth name was Perret, and he changed to French. He met my great grandmother Anna, who was, you know, I mean, she was a Native American looking, in Joplin, Missouri, or Missouri as I call it, and they settled in Kansas City, Kansas. So he ended up just popping out kids with her, 10 kids, late in the game for him. He died during the Great Depression. I want to say he died maybe 1934 out there in Kansas City, Kansas, but he was an entrepreneur. He owned a pool hall. He was a master barber. He owned a couple businesses. Like even his kids were entrepreneurs after him. Matter of fact, my great uncles and my grandmother, they grew up with Charlie Parker, because he was from Kansas City. And sometimes Charlie Parker, that Charlie Parker, you know, the great jazz virtuoso, music genius extraordinaire. he used to play in my uncle's establishments, like their restaurants and clubs and stuff. And when my Aunt Tilly moved up to Detroit, a lot of those jazz musicians used to stop over in her home for smoking weed and eating good food. My Aunt Tilly was a policy queen for the Detroit mob. Now, there's a story about Aunt Tilly. She's a street legend up in Detroit. She stole money from the mob, right? When she was doing numbers for the mob, she stole some of their money. They sent several hitmen to take her out. She even asked my Aunt Nan, her sister, for some money. Aunt Nan said, I can't help you. My Aunt Nan was a nun at one point, right? She was a nun. And she said, I just pray for you or something like that. I can't help you. I ain't give you no money. So my Aunt Tilly was able to talk these guys from killing her. She talked them out of killing her. And the Detroit mob let her live. They said, you just can't deal in policy no more. Because we see you dealing in policy, we're going to kill you. And she lived to be about 84 years old. She died in 2004. But one of my cousins, Vanessa, I guess, Belle Armstrong, the famous gospel singer, she used to be real close to my Aunt Tilly. That's my great aunt, my paternal grandmother's sister. And they had a falling out. So I got all type of musicians and stuff and people like that in my family. And my great grandmother, Anna, my grandmother's mama, my paternal grandmother's mama. It's weird you try to say all this stuff, but her nephew was a guy named Big Miller. If you look up Big Miller, he was like one of those Kansas City shouters. Like he was a singer that was his voice was so loud and big. He didn't need a microphone to sing. So he played trombone and he sung jazz. He used to sing for Duke Ellington and Jay McShann and all these big jazz bands. But he got stranded in Canada on tour and ended up making his home in Canada, became a national music hero up in Canada. They call him Big Miller. And there's a big statue of him, I think in Edmonton or somewhere in Canada, one of them places in Canada, they got a big statue of him singing. He passed away in the early 90s. But I'm gonna look up him as well. But he did a movie called Big Meat Eater. That's a cult classic from the 80s. And I saw clips of that on YouTube. Big Meat Eater. He was playing this trombone. He was a butcher in the movie. I don't know the whole synopsis of the movie, but he was a butcher. I think he was cutting up people. He was cutting up meat. It's kind of like in the same vein of Little Shop of Horrors. You ever seen Little Shop of Horror with Rick Moranis? And feed me, Seymour, feed me. So he did one of them goofy movies like that, but it's very like interesting. So I'm trying to find a way to get a copy of the whole movie. Yeah, people need to start doing their research. I got some gangsters. I don't know about that, but you know, everybody got gangsters. We all got people, man. Like my great grandfather. I know why now, like studying my family trees, I know why white folks give me a hard time now. I thought it was just me, but it's like I know why I get a hard time from the clear people, and why people might be a little intimidated. But anyway, let me talk about Fannie Lou Hamer. I'm 50 minutes in, right? I'm talking about everything but Fannie Lou Hamer, but I'm in the spirit of her. But Fannie Lou Hamer is interesting. She's very interesting because she was the last of 20 children of her parents. She was the last one out of 20. It took them that many times of making love and having kids to get one Fannie Lou Hamer. That's why they know we shouldn't be getting abortions right now. We should not be getting abortions because we aborting the revolution. We killing our revolutionaries before they get here. Because you know Malcolm was the seventh child of his father, and you think about Mark Clark, who died with Fred Hampton, who was assassinated with Fred Hampton. He was number 9 out of 18. So his folks had 18 children, but you know he was number 9. So even as messed up as things are, I think black folks should make it their business to have kids. I don't think we should be aborting kids. I know that we need to start getting to that village concept once again, because what's said, Fannie Lou Hamer, she was the 20th child of her parents, and she wanted children. And the state of Mississippi denied her the right to bear kids because we call that when they do that to you. Wow, I'm having a brain freeze right now. Y'all know what I'm talking about when they sterilized. She was sterilized by the state of Mississippi without her consent. I think she was told afterwards by her so-called medical doctor that they sterilized her because she was poor and black. So they, eugenics. You think Hitler invented all that eugenic stuff? Now Margaret Sanger, she got those ideas from people like Margaret Sanger in America. So she was sterilized. So she never had any biological children. Now she had, I guess, 2 children that she adopted as her own. But she didn't have any biological children. So that bothered her. And she died young. She died young at 59. But if you look at what she was doing when she died and look at where we at now as a people, we are so ass backwards. No, she had freedom farms. She had affordable housing for black people down in Ruralville. She was concerned about controlling our food path. Sister Shawarzad Ali talking about we got to control our food path. If a people does not control their food path, food path, PATH. Let me say it right. Food path. We must control our food production. And black folks, we do not control our food production. We don't control our education. We don't control our economics. So how can we practice self-determination without controlling these things? So before she died, she had affordable housing set up for black folks down there in the Delta. She had food farms, freedom farms to help feed her people. And so they could also make a living. So this is a black woman who dropped out of grade school, who lived on a plantation for most of her life, did not know she could vote until she was 44 years old. So that's another thing. I'm in my 40s now. And, man, I wake up, I say, what the hell is going on, man? I be sitting up in my bed or whatever, about 30 minutes trying to, like, what the hell is going on? But then I look at people like Fannie Hamer. My best days are ahead because she didn't start becoming an activist till she was 44 years old. And she dedicated the rest of her life to liberation for black people. So we get caught up in youth. It's a saying that says youth is wasted on the young, right? You don't know too much of anything when you're young and full of energy. When you're young and I ain't gonna say, they quote, young and dumb. I'm not saying you dumb, you're just naive about the way things work. And the system use that against you. They use your energy and they pimp your energy. You don't really realize. Because you think about right now with these rappers, right? Rappers are some of the most influential people on the planet. Your words create worlds, right? But 50-something years ago, these rappers would have been Fred Hampton and H. Rap Brown and Stokely Carmichael, Huey P. Newton. They would have been the rappers, right? But they turned the rappers it turned the revolutionaries to rappers. They co-opted the struggle. It's like you look at how hip hop started. You think about it, hip hop brought the consciousness of Malcolm X back to black people, of the Black Panther Party. It was hip hop, the culture, the youth culture that did that. Looking towards the dead for inspiration for the living. Because they try to kill Malcolm many times. Malcolm, his legacy refuses to die. Even when they try to put Malcolm X in the dress, they can't make it work. You know what I'm saying? Because Malcolm too black, too strong. But you got to think about it. Clarence 13X was in Temple number 7 under Malcolm X. Who is Clarence 13X? What is the 5% nation for whatever money, Alex? For how many bean pies, Alex, right? Or Elijah. Clarence 13X is the founder of the 5%ers, the 5% nation. He came out of Malcolm's Temple number 7. See, Malcolm, it's a thing, Malcolm's ministers, right? Farrakhan is a protege of Malcolm. The way he's talking and speaks and stuff, that's from Malcolm. You understand? So Clarence 13X came out of that. Clarence 13X was working with the youth, the young black folks of New York City. And he was a threat, but he had connects to the mayor's office. The mayor respected Clarence 13X. The mayor used to give him all types of funds and grants to take these kids on airplanes and everything. And then they assassinated Clarence 13X in the project up in New York. Was it 69? So it's interesting to look at that history. But Clarence 13X was originally from where? He's from the South, Danville, Virginia. But a lot of the 5% stuff found its way into hip hop, into the rap thing, right? So it's interesting how the powers that be co-opt our people, co-opt our music, our narrative, our song, our culture, for really low vibratory or low vibration ends. You know, so it's worth studying. But yeah, Spike Lee could not have done the Malcolm X movie without hip hop bringing back Malcolm X, making him relevant. They couldn't do it because Spike Lee had to raise money outside the system just to get the movie done. With all this, and the movie, as I look back on it, is problematic because it's inaccurate. And like Dick Gregory, I didn't think about what Dick Gregory was saying. Why they show Malcolm X's head in a toilet bowl? That's not in his autobiography that he had his head in the toilet bowl when the police come to arrest him. It was a way to lowbrow Malcolm. And I didn't think about it at that time, but as years passed, yeah, because Ozzie Davis, who was real close to my cousin, Julian Mayfield, he actually, I believe, did a eulogy, or he's one of the speakers at my cousin's funeral back in the 80s. He said Spike should do another version of Malcolm X 20 years later. He said another version of Malcolm needs to be done. And I agree, because even though I enjoyed Denzel and stuff, the storyline, you cannot talk about Malcolm without talking about Louis Farrakhan and about his sister A.L.L. And you left those two people out. And the movie was 3 hours long, but it could did a lot more with that. And for the people complaining about, you know, Judas and Black Messiah saying, well, Daniel Kaluuya was too old to play Fred Hampton, and so that Lakeith Stanfield was too old. Look, that's Hollywood. You know, Stacey Dash was a grown woman when she played the high school student in Coolidge, right? Ageless wonder. Stacey Dash. Malcolm was in his 30s, in late 30s when he played Malcolm X. He was Detroit Red. He played Detroit Red, the young man. Malcolm was young when he was Detroit Red, right? He was like late teens, early 20s, right? Denzel was almost 40 when he played Detroit Red. So what's the, come on, man. Y'all be caught up in the BS. It's acting, it's fantasy, it's make-believe. It's not reality. We shouldn't depend on a movie to tell us our history. And speaking of that, you know, Common is in the process of producing a biopic on Fannie Lou Hamer. No, Common the rapper. He's in the process of doing a biopic on Fannie Lou Hamer. And I really hope that they get a black person from America to play Fannie Lou Hamer. Don't get no Brit, no disrespect to the Brits or the Africans. We should get a sister that understands our story, our struggle. Because, you know, I'm tired of our sheroes and heroes being compromised by folks from other parts of the diaspora who don't get it. It's the reason why Denzel was great in Malcolm, because he could understand who Malcolm was. See, just like Malcolm, he was the son of a preacher man. His daddy was a preacher man. He was a preacher in Kojic. He was always on the road, always gone. So Denzel could relate to that, and he pulled it off. Because he caught the essence and the spirit, the cadence and all this stuff of Malcolm. So, yeah, 5% Nation is a part of hip hop history. They're part of the foundation. Definitely. Know what I'm saying? But you know, but Clarence 13X came out of the temple of Malcolm X. Came out of temple number 7 when Malcolm was running it. You know, Mr. Farrakhan took over temple number 7, I believe, shortly after Malcolm's assassination. I don't know how many children have, as many as you want, I guess. You know, my thing is this. We're gonna have to start getting back to the village concept, because like as I get older, I meet women with a lot of kids sometimes, and not because that they being loose with it. Some of these women been married, you know what I'm saying, and things happen. They might got widowed or just didn't work out. But I think that we need to start coming back as a village, because that's how somebody made a good point. The black family did survive slavery. Some type of way our people survived slavery because for the love of us. You know, one of the first things that black people did after the Civil War was to try to find their loved ones. That's why family reunions are so important to black people, because of how the system tries in so many ways to keep us apart and keep us divided, we always find a way to come back together. So we got to think about that. Yeah, slavery did a number on our people, but we are strongest when we can work together and be on the same page. When you got the black man, woman, and child on the same page, there's nothing we cannot do as a people. There's nothing we cannot achieve. And that's why we're such a threat. And people got to understand, we got to have the black man at full strength. A black man must be a man, not only in name, but also in deed. We need black men to be men. It's hard to be a man. Judge Joe Brown say all the time, it's hard to be a man. That's why you got to start early. To paraphrase Frederick Douglass, it's easier to raise strong children than it is to repair broken men. It is easier to raise strong children than it is to repair broken men. So, I mean, a lot of our brothers have been broken and been betrayed by the sisters because y'all have us, y'all don't raise us correctly. You know, if you look at any other group of people on the planet, there is no group of man more respected or more disrespected rather than the black man, the black American man. We are the envy of the world, but yet we so disrespected. You know, the government replaced us with welfare, with benefits. And our women try to compare us to the government, and we never been allowed to realize our full potential as men. A lot of us spend our times fighting against the system just to exist on the margins. We so busy fighting against a system that never was for us. We're fighting to be a part of a system that never was for us. And that takes a lot of energy. Sometimes I just say, fuck it, I just want to just be left alone. And why don't we just build something instead of worry about destroying this? Let's build that and protect it at all costs. Just like when we sign up for Uncle Sam, we sign our name on the dotted line, we are property of Uncle Sam. You talking about being a slave, but when you join the military and sign your name, you property. You giving them consent to own you. So that means they can do whatever they want to with you, and they don't have to answer to your family no more because they own you. But then once they break you, they return the sender, right? And you no good to anybody when you're broken mentally and spiritually. When you buck broken, as they say, you no good to yourself. So it is very important. Back in the day, you said the night riders used to come terrorize black folks right at night. They know them as the Klan, night riders. George Washington Carver, his mom was kidnapped by night riders, right? And he was raised by his former white slave owners, and they castrated him and whatnot. But I guess they're good white people. But black folks in their homes used to have hidden compartments in the floors to hide their black men from the night riders. And also not just from the night riders, but also from the bounty hunter. The bounty hunter. It's a song that W.C. Handy composed called Joe Turner Has Come and Gone or something like that. Joe Turner Blues. Joe Turner was based on an actual man who was a bounty hunter from Nashville, I believe. They would go around kidnapping black men in the middle of the night and get their ass into the penitentiary. Something like that. And I don't know. That's a good question. Where is William O'Neill's son? His son will be in his 30s right now. Because he was like, according to his widow, when I read from the paper, he was a very little kid. So I'm assuming that he'll be in his 30s right now. And how does he live with that legacy of his father? But my thing is about Negroes, man. We got a lot of hatred for each other. But William O'Neill was flipped when he was about 17 or 18 years young. You don't make the best decisions when you're 17 or 18. I'm not trying to give him an out. I'm not doing it at all. But what I'm saying is, just check out my cousin's movie Uptight, because he kept on asking the question, why? Why did he do what he did, right? Why did he do it? He was asking everybody, why did I do this to my brother that I loved like a brother, but I betrayed him? And I believe like in the Judas thing, I can't even call William O'Neill a Judas because he never believed. He didn't believe in Fred Hampton. He never brought into it. Even though he was in the circle, he was not a disciple. You understand? He was never, from what I get, a believer. He always was clear who his allegiance was to. Just like a lot of black people, right? There's a reason why Harriet Tubman had a gun on her person and told folks, you cannot return back to massa because I'm going to drop you where you stand. Because you cannot compromise or jeopardize other folks in the name of liberation. So my thing is this. We always been compromised in this system. Our organizations always has been compromised. Always. So it's like what Dick Gregory told me. Yeah, you know there's informants and agents, but you should do what you're supposed to do anyway. Just do what you're supposed to do. Because even with an agent or an informant, you could get some use out of them too. You know, Fred Hampton got some use out of William O'Neill. They put him on the work, you know, doing things, feeding the kids and other stuff. Even though in the ultimate end, you know, the cost wasn't worth it, you know, but it is what it is. I don't know where you go find William O'Neill's son. I don't know if he changed his name. You know, one thing I want to do is bring on Morrell McCullough, daughter. Morrell McCullough, if you look at the famous photo of King on the balcony laid out, that's the guy kind of kneeling over King. That's Morrell McCullough. He was Memphis police officer undercover. He infiltrated the Memphis Invaders, which is Memphis version of the Black Panthers, whatever. And he went on to become the first black commissioned CIA officer. And I actually reached out to Morrell McCullough after I came back from Selma 50. I reached out to him. I got on my YouTube channel. And his daughter is a prolific author, freelance writer, and stuff like that. I think she's working on a book about her father's, you know, double life or secret life. And so I'm going to reach out to her and try to get her on the show very soon. Especially you got the anniversary of King assassination coming up April 4th. I'll try to get her on by then. And also Mark Clark's sister, you know, defense captain for the Black Panther Party, Gloria Jackson. She listens to this show from time to time, and she reached out to me. So I'm going to try to get her on in the coming weeks as well. There's more some other people to talk about these things. So I want to thank you all who have been encouraging me to keep on keeping on, sending dues nations. Thank you all who've been sending due nations doing this podcast, and people that have been texting me or calling me or emailing me words of encouragement, because right now I'm trying to figure this stuff out. But it's so much to talk about. And I know people say, well, you gonna do a show today? I said, I don't know, man. But you see, once I can do a show, I can't stop talking. So nah, I didn't get no Dr. Randy Short. I heard he was off of YouTube. Dr. Short, you know, you got to think about it. Dr. Short is he said what's on his mind, man. And there's a lot of enemies of the truth. So Dr. Short, everybody I tell people, you pick your battles, you pick the hill you're gonna die on. It's like, you know, it's certain things that I'm aware of, like people trying to tell me, you know, they do this. I said, I know they do that, but what you gonna do? Now, is that a fight that's worth fighting? Or what is your purpose? Because my purpose is, it's a lot of stuff going on. But my thing is, I want to do what I got to do. My thing is, when I tell people to start and doing the work that I'm doing, don't worry about if everybody agree with your point of view or they're going to support what you do. Believe in yourself enough to stand on your square and speak your truths. And don't worry about it if it's popular or not. And there's a price to pay for speaking and living your truth. Dr. Short has been paying that price. He's a great man, you know, but it's a cost that you pay for being honest by telling the truth about certain things. And it's a song like Jimmy Lunsford made possible. It take what you do, it's the way that you do it. It take what you do, it's the way that you do it. It take what you do, it's the way that you do it. You know, strategy. I know for me, I'll spring a little bit up here and there. It's a lot of things I want to share with everybody. But my thing is, I can't tell you where to go, but I can show you a way that you might want to consider. But that's on you to consider that way. It's not for me to force you to go that way. You understand what I'm saying? So we'll see. We'll probably have Dr. Short on soon. Hopefully his book be coming out very shortly. I pre-ordered some books for him. Hopefully he's working on editing that and getting that forward done and all that stuff. We love you madly too. Thank y'all for loving me and loving Dr. Short. We appreciate that. But I mean, it's a lonely existence, man. This work is crazy, man. I was talking to a friend of mine, a college alum, a friend of mine. I saw him at Kroger's yesterday. Man, we was by the frozen food section talking for 2 hours. I mean, two black men. I'm saying, brother, is this a midlife crisis? He said, no, brother, we too. I guess it is. I mean, but you know, you get to your 40s, it's interesting. You start reassessing stuff because society tells you that you can't contribute anything at a certain age. Like you already through. You know, you look at sports, you already through. When you turn 40, you old in sports, right? In professional sports, you through. But in real life, you just beginning to live life. You just now understanding some stuff about yourself and your relationships to the world. You just now understand you've been through some stuff. You got some stuff to really say now. But then they tell you, no, there's no place for you to say these things. It's over for you, but it's not over. Fannie Lou Hamer didn't begin her God work till she was 44. A lot of folks don't really start beginning their most important works until after they turn a certain age, like 40. You understand? Like you look at Duke Ellington, some of his most important works came after he was 40. Sun Ra, shit, Miles Davis, after they were 40, man. You know, Tupac died at 25, right? And Tupac is known. Tupac was very prolific. But if Duke Ellington died at 25, he wouldn't have been known. He would not be known because he had yet to play the Cotton Club. If he died at 25, he never got the Cotton Club gig. If Miles Davis died at 25, he'll be known for some sides he did with Charlie Parker back in the 40s. He won't be known for Kind of Blue or Bitches Brew or Jack Johnson, all that stuff that came later. You know, people are like, it's over. I'm not just beginning, man. I'm just figuring some of this stuff out. It can't be over now. You know, I'm just now figuring some things out. So people aren't ready. You're right. And they'll never be ready. I don't care how old or young they are. Yeah, I heard about it. It happens. Yeah, but you know, brother Dominic, it's just a different time now because, like, even looking at Fannie Lou Hamer time back in the 50s and the 60s, I mean, in the 60s and stuff, and 70s, the economy was booming. It's like, you know, black folks actually had something to fight for in terms of the economic pie. You understand? Like, you could be a high school dropout. I say this all the time. Back in the 60s, you could have been a high school dropout, worked that factory job, Firestone, whatever, for 30 plus years, almost 40 years, and retire, you know, raise a family. Wife could have stayed at home to raise the children, send all your kids to school, retire with a good pension. Them days are gone, man. Them days are gone. And I think it's not even about working hard right now. It's about being creative and being strategic. There's a lot of hardworking people. They some of the poorest people in the world. Some of the poorest people in the world are some of the hardest working people in the world. Think about what I'm saying. Some of the poorest people in the world are some of the hardest working people in the world. You got folks that got several jobs that still can't afford light bill, food bill, rent. Queen Elizabeth never had a job. Queen Elizabeth probably don't even know how to clean a toilet, let alone boil water. And she's almost 100 years old looking good for her age. But she's royalty. But she don't know how to do basic stuff. She couldn't survive out here without that type of support. I mean, she don't know how to, she don't clean her toilet. You know? She don't know how to boil no water. She don't know how to talk to the light bill company for an extension. She live in Buckingham Palace. Come on, man. So what I'm saying is people kind of strange. The world is weird. It's like you look at, I read somewhere that gorillas eat about maybe 50 pounds of food a day. Gorillas eat, 40 or 50 pounds. Somebody in the comment section, y'all find it. Oh, Brother Roy, I think you got that wrong because people love to see a black man get some shit wrong. A gorilla eats about 40 or 50 pounds of food a day, but don't have a job. You got folks working 40 hours a week, can't afford no food. You got folks working 40 hours a week and cannot afford food. They need to have food stamps. And life was not made to work jobs. Life is for living. Your life should not be wasted working 40 or 80 hours a week on a job. You should be enjoying yourself, enjoying your family, your loved ones, making life fun. This stuff is weird, man. It's really strange. It's really strange. But what does it got to do with Fannie Lou Hamer? It got a lot to do with Fannie Lou Hamer. Because Fannie Lou Hamer said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. This woman was living on the margins of society, but yet she figured it out at 44. I mean, she started attending student nonviolent coordinating committee meetings at 40 something, in her 40s. Very effective organizer, leader, man, grassroots. Y'all keep on looking at government and celebrities to do the work that is necessary to free us. It's going to take us to do that work. Like I said, majority of the people on the planet are poor in this system. We're not poor in nature. It's systemic. It's engineered poor by the systemic engineered poverty. Systemic engineered. It's engineered poverty. It's like you got to ask yourself a question. What is Bill Gates going to do with all that farmland? He already about depopulation. His daddy was a part of Planned Parenthood. His parents was a part of Planned Parenthood. I believe his father was a lawyer for Margaret Sanger. And y'all can look that up. I'm out of time, but I'm saying, but yet we worship people like him because they got materialistic things. I still remember when Bill Gates visited the high school I was substitute teaching at, Hamilton High School in South Memphis. Bill Gates came to visit the school, but the school had everything on lockdown, like we was in the penitentiary, like we in the state pen. They had the children locked down in the classroom. We could not let nobody out. We all had to stay inside our classroom while Bill Gates and his wife and the superintendent at the time walked the halls with a select few students. And I'm saying, even the class clowns was telling me, Mr. Ron, they treat us like we criminals, like we nobody. These are the class clowns and stuff telling me how they was feeling. And really, that's how I felt. Why are they isolating these kids from this historic opportunity to interact with somebody like Bill Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates? Why did they come to the school if they're going to do that and not interact with the children? See, it's not the children effing up, it's the grown people screwing up. And a lot of our people ain't no good for our children. Their brains have been programmed out of whack. But yeah, they did that crazy stuff. It just like blew my mind. It was like, oh, what's happened? Maybe 10 or 11 years ago, I saw this. I saw Bill Gates. He was short. I was looking out the window of the door of my classroom. But the fact that they had them on lockdown like they was in the penitentiary after they did a prison riot was ridiculous. This stuff, I talked about it in the video around the time it happened. But man, people don't know what type of effect that has on people. You know, that's very traumatic for our children. But we treat our children like they're animals, you know, or like a lower animal. I guess we're all animals, you know, y'all, you know, whatever they. But what I'm saying is we treat dogs better than we treat our children. And we talking about, you know, vaccines, but you let them indoctrinate your children's mind. Who cares about the vaccine? Who cares about this and that when they already got their minds? The most valuable real estate in the 21st century, like Chuck D said, the most valuable real estate in the 21st century is your mind. It's between your ears. Whoever control your mind, they control your reality. They control your destiny. Like I said, yeah, they do got small armies. You know, people forget, you know, the Trump's Secretary of Education, right? DeVos. Now she's married to the Amway dynasty. Her husband is part of Amway, right? But then her brother is Eric Prince, the guy who created Blackwater, the billionaire mercenary. Eric Prince. Look up Eric Prince and Blackwater. So it's called himself something else now, but you know. I see Chad Factors in his house. Y'all talking about some Dr. Short. I got archives, man. I'm gonna bring back Dr. Short. Dr. Short. Hey, Dr. Short on. He was on Darren Muhammad's show yesterday. It's interesting to think about. Thank y'all for the donations. We love you madly. Because you think about the Africa thing, it's funny. They got you thinking Africa is poor. Africa is not poor, but the indigenous people of Africa, a lot of them, meaning them, are poor because of politics and all this stuff been going on for a minute. You know, you think about the Congo, like all the so-called unrest is by design, right? You know, I talked about George Washington Williams with Dr. Short. George Washington Williams is the father of Black historians in America. He's the father of Black historians. And they said Carter G. Woodson is the father of Black history. Well, Dr. George Washington Williams is the father of the Black American historian. And he actually met with King Leopold back in the late 19th century. And King Leopold told him don't go to the Congo, but he went to the Congo and saw how they were treating the indigenous Black folk there. And he said, I dare y'all treat Black people like this. And he was the first person to bring attention to the world of how Black folks were being done in the Congo, where they're getting their hands chopped out, genocide and all that stuff. It took them years later to really come up and try to stop King Leopold II. Because really the Congo was his private playground. It was not even a part of his Belgian government. It was his own little private playground. He making all this money, but they forced him to give it up back in 1908. And the Belgian government overtook the Congo, and he died in 1909. But I'm saying it's just a game, man. You think about Patrice Lumumba. You know what they did to him? They chopped him up to bits and pieces and put him in an acid vat. It's the CIA and the Belgians did that. They chopped him up into little bits and pieces and put him in an acid vat. And Patrice Lumumba hired Dave Chappelle Mom to be over his dam project, his Congo dam project. So I mean, the fuckery continues. And then they killed the UN Secretary General at the time. After they killed Patrice Lumumba, they killed the UN Secretary General in an airplane crash over in Africa. You said Bill Gates. I mean, I know he was a part of that organization. So I mean, his father was a lawyer, I believe, for Margaret Sanger. So it's something that's the research. Yeah, your mind, man. Poverty is a mind fuck. Cause you think about it, I know they knocked down the projects here in Memphis back in the day. We had Mayor Harrington, the first Black elected mayor of Memphis. He knocked down a lot of the projects, but the problem was the project. It was the mind state of the people. It was the poverty mind, the project mind state of the people, because you can knock down on projects and build condominiums there the next year, but yet you take these people into good neighborhoods out east, those become pockets of poverty and crime. You know, you take people that's used to staying in high rises for generations and move them out to the suburbs where they got lawns and stuff and backyards and not used to cutting grass, and you get complaints from the city and the neighbors and stuff about their grass not being kept up. You haven't changed their mind. You haven't rebooted or reprogrammed their mind state. It was a brother out in Kansas City named Bernard Powell. He was the Fred Hampton Sr. of Kansas City. He was very ambitious. He was a great community organizer. He wanted to be the first Black governor of Missouri. Ended up getting killed by a so-called friend, I believe. Because they thought, I think, that he was getting too big for his britches. Like he was leaving them behind or something, because he was very ambitious. You know, he was like, articulate, smart, handsome. Like one of them charismatic Fred Hampton type dudes. And they got killed when he was young. But he had a saying. He said, ghetto or gold mine, the choice is yours. I think that's how he says this: ghetto or gold mine, the choice is yours. Ghetto or gold mine, the choice is yours. And I knew his brother Robert Powell. He had a very well-known and respected art gallery out in St. Louis called Portfolio Gallery. And it's interesting because I went to a park where his statue is located, right across from his family home. And I was playing my cornet and stuff. I did a little commentary. And his sister still stays in the family home. And I had a chance to connect with his sister. and interview her. It's on my We All Be TV channel. And found out his sister is a Taurus like I am, so we got along very fine. But she had some fascinating stories about her brother. But like Bernard Powell, some folks in Kansas City knows about Bernard Powell, but he was assassinated. They use black folks to do it though, but it is what it is. But like he said, ghetto or gold mine, the choice is yours. Well, how's Eric Prince is free? Think about it. A lot of people join the military to get away with killing and raping people. They're not joining it for patriotic reasons. That's why it's just a high incidence of rape and stuff in the military of men and women. A lot of these people don't join the military. I'm not saying all of them, but some of them don't join the military to be patriotic. Some of them join the military to get away with killing and raping folks and get compensated for it. So look at what a mercenary is. So it's like when Colin Powell was on Meet the Press some years ago. He said when you declare a war, you call off civilization. When you declare war, you call off civilization. So I mean, there are no rules in war. The only rule is to win by any means necessary. Yeah, the Confessions of the Economic Hitman, where they go around the world destroying people's economies, the powers that be, so they can control the resources of the country. So how can you have a sovereign country when you cannot control your resources? Think about what happened. Look up Operation Ajax. Operation Ajax, when Iran was a democratic country back in the 50s. They elected their leaders, and Iran wanted to control their oil, their natural resource, their oil, and British Petroleum, BP, wasn't having it. So British Petroleum worked with British intelligence and the CIA to do a coup d'etat of the government. It's called Operation Ajax, and actually, I believe it was President Teddy Roosevelt's either great grandson or grandson who organized that. He passed away not too long ago, but he was the guy that overthrew a democratic elected government with the help of the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. So look up Operation Ajax. That's why we got the problem we got with Iran. That was American and British made because they didn't want the Iranians to control their own resources. Just like in the Congo. That's why they destroyed Patrice Lumumba's body and put it in the acid vat, because they didn't want the people of the Congo to have self-determination. Because they was afraid that Patrice would be a communist, but Patrice was trying to work with America. That's how he met Dave Chappelle's mom. He came over here trying to meet with Eisenhower when he was president, and the White House would not meet with him. So he was at his hotel, and some black students came along to meet him. He was very impressed with Dave Chappelle's mom, who could speak fluent French. So he hired her on the spot before he died to come to the Congo to supervise the dam project. And I remember I met Dave Chappelle's mom at Baba Dick Gregory's wake at Howard University. And I just thanked her for her service. And she was so humble. And like, I appreciate it. I said, I thank you for all you have done, not only with your son, but also your own commitment to our liberation. What you tried to do. It's commendable. So, like I said, this is why, Fannie Lou Hamer should be remembered and talk about, but also all these other giants. Like, Dr. Short, give a lot of hidden history about our people. And there's a lot of Dr. Short stuff out there. But like I said, these times, man, we take a lot of our freedom fighters, and like Dr. Short said, we love our traitors but hate our heroes. Well, I say they're heroes. He said heroes. Oh, yeah, they just filed, but they Bahia pipeline. I'm glad a lot of us are standing up about the Bahia pipeline because they're trying to destroy our drinking water. Gentrification is a form of genocide. So these folks are so greedy that they're willing to destroy some of the best drinking water in the country. Because we have an aquifer. They want to build a pipeline over that or under or over, but whatever is dangerous. Because that's the drinking water for all. Think about it. We just had that snowstorm, whatever that geoengineered snowstorm thing, to try to get Texas in line, and Memphis had something, and it affected our water. Think about how it was just such an inconvenience to, boil water or get bottled water. You couldn't take baths or showers like you want to. Imagine that being our existence for the rest of our lives because they try and turn Memphis to another Flint. So, and Orange Mound is a powerful community. If you don't understand, Orange Mound was one of the first places in the country where black folks owned their homes. It was a community because black folks owned their homes. First part of the country. No other place. It started in Orange Mound, a historic neighborhood. And you think it's interesting, like you talking about hip hop culture. A.L.L and MJG is from Orange Mound, a pioneering, Southern hip hop group. I mean, when I was growing up in the 90s, my father lived in Texas, in Houston. I used to think that A.L.L and MJG was from the Fifth Ward, how much they loved them down in Texas, because they were signed to Swab House. But you listen to Little John and T.I. and Ludacris, they always shouting out Orange Mound. When they was first coming up, listen to their early albums and songs, they always big up Orange Mound. Because people don't understand that Crunk came from Memphis. It didn't come from Atlanta. Even Pimp C said that on a infamous radio interview he did, I guess in Atlanta. Said, man, y'all on the East Coast time, man. Crunk from Memphis, man. So even he knew where Crunk came from. But the thing about it is Atlanta, their hip hop, they more unified than Memphis was. It took David Banner, a guy from Mississippi, to get 8Ball and MJG and 3 6 Mafia to do a song together. Stay Fly, right? Let's Stay Fly, something on Most Known Unknowns. Yeah, I know about Tony Draper, that's Swab House. But what I'm saying is, people will shout out Orange Mound. They knew the history. Like T.I. and all them guys, they knew they had a lot of respect for the mound. And like Orange Mound was like the first place in America where black folks owned their homes. Like they own them. They were staying in they would own the homes. So Memphis is interesting because, like I said, that people's grocery lynching, we still suffering from a lot of stuff that happened to us 100-something years ago. Like the Memphis Race Massacre, 1866. The white policemen destroyed black Memphis. They burned down the schools and churches, raping and killing women, killing men. Atrocious stuff happened. And that incident led to the Reconstruction Act. If you're going to trace one incident in American history that led to Reconstruction, it was the Memphis Race Massacre, 1866, and all riots and stuff like that are always started by police misconduct. What happened last summer? What started those things? Police misconduct. What started the so-called Rodney King riots? Police misconduct. What started the Ferguson uprising? Police misconduct. Watts, police misconduct. So law and order is a strange phenomenon, because really it's just organized chaos. I made all the art. It's my art. I don't do a good job of promoting. See, she know the history, man. It's that trauma. They know. See, the Iranians know what America did. Americans don't know about their history. We don't want to know about this shit. We just worry about Grammys and Super Bowl and NBA. You know what I'm saying? We don't. Our priorities are messed up as people. We're not suffering until we really suffer. We ain't suffering. Even though we suffering, we have become so desensitized to our suffering. And let me see. I know I've been running my mouth, man. Let me justify me running my mouth. I want to talk about Fannie Hamer. But see that film Uptight is on YouTube right now. See it while you can. I'm just surprised Real Black has not put that out there as far as about knowledge. I don't think he put that out there. But thank y'all for being patient. And Chad Factor, appreciate you shouting out. Look, I got Dr. Short archives. That's still available. We'll see about getting Dr. Short on here one day. But we all gotta pick our spots, man. It's very important. But yeah, it'll be some Dick Gregory news, I think, coming in a couple of weeks from now. And I have a special guest to talk about that. It should be a very interesting summer. And can't believe that this year will mark 4 years since Dick Gregory made his transition as a righteous ancestor. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about. Yeah, I mean, I have to wind it down because neighbors be complaining and stuff. I don't care. Let the people be heard, you know. Hey, Brother Ron, be loud. Whatever. Let me see. Sometimes it's like time is going fast and slow at the same time for me. Let me read this tribute I did for Fannie Lou Hamer, and then we'll talk about some other things that people may not know about her and the movement. America is Mississippi, Malcolm X. March 14th, 2021 marks the 44th anniversary when Queen Mother's sister, Fannie Lou Hamer, became a righteous ancestor, man. Sometimes it seems like to tell the truth today is to run the risk of being killed. But if I fall, I'll fall 5 feet 4 inches forward in the fight for freedom. I am not backing off. With the people, for the people, by the people, I crack up when I hear it. I say with the handful, for the handful, by the handful, because that's what really happens. Nobody's free until everybody's free. Fannie Lou Hamer. The last of 20 children born to her parents, Fannie Lou Hamer was a true godsend and people's champ. Her statue at the Fannie Lou Hamer Memorial Garden in Ruleville, Mississippi, is only the 4th freestanding statue dedicated to an African-American woman in America. Fannie Lou Hamer was and is a threat to the status quo. There are a bunch of new Fannie Lou Hamers about to be awakened. Fannie Lou Hamer was powerful because she didn't need anybody's approval to exist and to do what was truly right and just. She had a personal moral compass that was well-tuned and beyond reproach. She defined herself by defying the times, and by doing so, became one of the greats of all time. We can all learn from her mighty example and apply it today. One love. Fannie Lou Hamer did not realize slavery is a choice until she was 44 years young. On August 31st, 1962, she went to register to vote. The next day, she lost her job of 18 years as a timekeeper at the W.D. Marlowe plantation and was literally kicked off the plantation. What I really feel is necessary is that Black people in the country will have to upset this apple cart. We can no longer ignore the fact that America is not the land of the free and the home of the brave. That's a direct quote from Fannie Lou Hamer. By the way, Mrs. Hamer was not deterred. She became a student nonviolent coordinating committee, aka SNCC field secretary, and a founding member of the revolutionary Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. In 1963, a day before Medgar Evers' assassination, she was beaten nearly to death in a jail cell by 2 Black male inmates on the order of the police. She pleaded with them not to do so, and those mofos did it anyway. They made the choice to do so. Never forget that Black people were also involved in the kidnapping and torture and lynching of Emmett Till. Niggas could have said no, even if facing death. Choices, man, somewhere. She was involved in unsuccessfully, trying to seat the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party delegation at the 1964 Democratic National Convention in Atlantic City. She scared the hell out of LBJ and the Dixiecrats just by singing the truth. No one could escape the righteous hymn of freedom humming, soul stirring Sister Fannie Lou. See how it works? On May the 10th, 2018, I made a pilgrimage to Louisville, Mississippi to pay my respects to the honorable ancestor and her honorable husband, the ancestor or righteous ancestor known as Perry Pap Hamer. That's Perry Pap Hamer. If you never had the pleasure of riding through the spacious, mystical, and beautiful Mississippi Delta on a bright sunny day, then put it on your bucket list, man. Fannie Lou Hamer is one of the few black women with a public statue in her honor in this country. Like I said before, hers was the fourth. Baba Dick Gregory always said that two of the most powerful forces in American history is the black woman and the black church. Fannie Lou Hamer, a mother of the real black liberation movement, embodies the notion mind, body, and soul. She understood that the real holy trinity is the black man, woman, and child. She knew that it took the black family working together and in love to overcome a system of white mediocrity. Even with limited formal education, she didn't fall prey to white liberals, feminists, and others hijacking the blueprint to the black liberation movement to utilize for their own gains while leaving black folks in the dust and the wind. Fannie Lou wanted biological children, but the state of Mississippi sterilized her without her consent. However, I consider her the spiritual and intellectual mother of us all, those among us who have continued to fight by any means necessary, man. So that's my tribute to the righteous ancestor, Queen Mother Sister, Fannie Lou Hamer. Yeah. My email is weallbe@gmail.com. You can go by weallbe. I mean, I got r2c2h2@gmail.com. It's scrolling down here at the bottom. But weallbe, new movie. No, like the movie I'm talking about is Uptight. It's on YouTube. Uptight, type in Uptight Julian Mayfield. It should pop up. Like I said, it's from 1968. At the end of 1968, it came out. And it's like, I'm sure that Shaka King and them who produced the Black Judas and the Black Messiah, they watched that movie. I already knew they watched that movie. Hey, brother Gavin, good job today. I heard some of your shows. You did like a marathon. Check out G Boot 2786. He got some interesting stuff on there. Like I said, nobody dies a natural death in show business. But thank you. My art pieces, yeah, these stuff I did. This is actually my art. I'm the artivist. I do art, you know. I believe that, you know, we all have talent and ability, and that creating is very therapeutic. And so this is all my art back here. I might do some, I'm gonna probably do some shows about some of my artwork. I know some of y'all suggested that I talk about my artwork, and I got a whole bunch of artwork. Like I got portfolios full of artwork. I got a whole bunch of artwork. You know, I'm one of those people. I already know that when I die, people will be talking about my artwork. It's like, yeah, I try to find money to get a piece or so. But you know, somebody sold some digital art. This guy named Beeple, whatever, some white dude, I think. He just sold a work for like $69 million, some digital art. It's digital art, and he's like the third most expensive living artist. And he just sold a work at an auction for like $69 million. And I'm saying to me, who decide what's worth that amount of money? Hell, people complain I sell my work for about $100. And really, it's cheating me, I think. I mean, because, you know, I put a lot of time into my work, I think. It's my experience, my thoughts. I'm sharing a piece of me with you all. But it's funny who decide what is worth what. You know, I'm actually friends with Michael Holman, who is the father of Hip Hop TV. He's the visionary behind Graffiti Rock. If y'all don't know what Graffiti Rock is, Google it. It's probably on YouTube. But that's the first hip hop TV show. He's like the hip hop version of Dick Clark, so to speak. Michael Holman, he's an interesting cat. He was the manager of the NYC Breakers, the legendary breakdancing group that actually did the inauguration. They did Ronald Reagan's inauguration back in 84. The 85, I think it was like, you know, he was elected 84, but they did the 85 presidential inauguration. NYC Breakers are amazing. Look at that clip. Jimmy Stewart, of all people, Mr. Hollywood, Mr. All-American Jimmy Stewart introduced them. And Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan said they had a good time watching the NYC Breakers. But he was the manager of them. But Graffiti Rock introduced Run DMC, Cool Mo D to the world. That's the first hip hop TV show. It's only one episode. But that's before Yo MTV Raps and everything. But Michael Holman was a close friend of Jean-Michel Basquiat, one of my favorite artists. His works go for tens of millions of dollars now. He's been dead since August 12th, 1988. Died of a drug overdose at the young age of 27. He's part of the 27 Club. You know, think about Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Robert Johnson. They all died at 27. That's a special club. Look up the 27 Club. A lot of famous, great musicians or artists of all types died at 27, and they are immortal. But he died. His work was making money while he was alive. You know, he did some collaborations with Andy Warhol and stuff like that. But they started a music group together, him, Michael Holman, and some other people called Gray. And I love Gray. And they still, you know, Michael Holman still does great work to this day. Check out Gray. There's a song on YouTube. Gray is Gray. It's called I Wanna Go Back to the Old School. Well, downtown and my club rule, something like that. But you know, I did a tribute to Michael Holman on my WLB TV channel. His birthday was recent. I think his birthday like February. It's late February. I think 27. But I did a tribute to Michael Holman. I did some interviews with him. And we also brought him down to speak a couple of times in Memphis for some of the events that we sponsored through the We All Be Group Incorporated. But we don't know who we are, man, how powerful we are. Like I said, who decides what's worth what? I think Van Gogh only sold one piece of art during his lifetime. And I believe it's through his brother, who was an art dealer. You know, now they're saying that Van Gogh didn't kill himself. I know they say he cut off his ear, but now they're saying he did not kill himself. And it's interesting. I like this story better than him actually killing himself. They claim that Van Gogh was shot by some young teenage guy. That him and his brother, the teenage brothers were playing around with these guns. They had a thing about Westerns. They just saw Buffalo Bill. They just saw the Buffalo Bill Wild West show. And this is out in Europe. You know, when Van Gogh died, he died in Europe, right? And I think the teenagers were playing with guns. They were trying to play cowboy, whatever. And one of them shot Van Gogh by accident, allegedly. One of the brothers shot Van Gogh by accident. And instead of Van Gogh telling what actually happened, he covered for the young teenage guy. He covered for him. He just died. You know, he didn't snitch. He didn't tell what really happened. He just covered for the dude that shot him, actually. So you can look that up online. That's a very fascinating story to know that Van Gogh may have got killed by some teenagers playing around with guns. So where was Nancy Pelosi and them? Because Nancy Pelosi is older than I'm joking. But yeah, y'all should look that up. That's another theory about how Van Gogh really died. But he only sold one painting during his lifetime, but his paintings are worth millions of dollars. Bruce Wayne became Batman at 27. Kurt Cobain, yeah, he died at 20. Man, you know, y'all didn't check out that Nick Broomfield documentary about Kurt Cobain. That's the dude that did the, I guess, Biggie and Tupac documentary. Nick Broomfield, the British guy. That Kurt Cobain thing don't sit right with me. I don't believe he killed himself. I do not believe he killed himself, but it's hard to prove. Most murders go unsolved, so it's hard to prove who did what. You know what I'm saying? But I do not believe he killed himself. But y'all need to check out that Nick Broomfield documentary about Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love. I think Courtney knows more than what she knows, than what she's telling. You know what I mean? Not no more. She knows more. And you look at her life, is interesting. It's like she's almost like an MK Ultra sex kitten. If y'all familiar with the term MK Ultra sex kitten, I think about Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B, how they weaponize these celebrities to seduce people into these weird alternative realities and fantasies. So this stuff is real. No, people don't know. Charles Manson was a musician. Charles Manson, listen to some of Charles Manson stuff. It's actually not that bad. I listen to some of Charles Manson. He actually had some good stuff. He could write songs. He was gifted on guitar and he could sing. But you know, Charles Manson used to hang around Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys. He was trying to get a movie deal, not a movie deal, but a music deal. So he was hanging around Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys and stuff. And y'all should check out the alternative history stuff that Quentin Tarantino did called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. That movie was actually good, and it was a surprise ending for me because Quentin Tarantino, he does alternative history bullshit really well. And with Django and Inglourious Bastards, but it was a twist on that. But it talks about Charles Manson. But Charles Manson claimed to the day he died he was CIA. I believe Charles Manson was CIA. And y'all need to check out Laurel Canyon. Learn about Laurel Canyon. A lot of the great, music groups from the 60s, a lot of them have connections to Laurel Canyon. Like I talk about Jim Morrison. Y'all know his daddy was the admiral in the Gulf of Tonkin incident, the false flag incident known as the Gulf of Tonkin incident back in 1964, which led to the U.S. involvement escalation into Vietnam. It was a false flag, and his daddy was the admiral doing that Gulf of Tonkin thing. That's Jim Morrison of the Doors. And people don't even know that he actually died at 27. A lot of people believe he faked his death because he was a very intelligent dude. They were trying to recruit him for intelligence. Coming out of UCLA, they wanted him for intelligence. They wanted him to work for the CIA and something. But he chose the music. Yeah, Rihanna could be. I mean, look, our space program, I believe there's UFOs and aliens. I do. I know that people think I'm crazy. I don't really care. And that ain't about what I can prove. It gotta be some other stuff out here. But if you know who Jack Parsons was, Jack Parsons is the father of the American space program. This dude spent his whole life trying to summon demons and devils and shit, doing sex magic. He was a follower of Aleister Crowley. He was a close friend of L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. And I still got these Scientology people sending me stuff. They calling me because I actually went to the Scientology's organization on Hollywood when I was in Hollywood back in 2017. I actually went out there for myself because I was curious. I let them Becky's and Karen's, not Becky's, Becky's. I let the Becky's kidnap me, and I spent the evening at the Scientology building, asking them questions and watching their videos. And I said, A.L. Ron Hubbard was your founder, Naval Intelligence. They started laughing. Naval Intelligence, ha ha ha. He was naval. He worked for the Navy. I mean, come on, man. But Jack Parsons, the founder of the space program, he used to be out in the California desert having orgies. They used to have like big orgies trying to open up portals. They were using sex magic to summon demons and stuff. And he was trying to find a woman to have the Antichrist with, like a Rosemary baby. That's Jack Parsons. That's the father of the space program. Y'all look up Jack Parsons. He died, around 37, 38 years old. They say he blew himself up in his garage, working on chemicals and stuff. But a lot of people believe that he was murdered. And that happened June 17th, 1952, I believe. Yeah, I heard about Delbert Blair. Check out all this stuff while you can, man. Utilize this information highway. Did I talk about Fannie Lou Hamer? I did talk about Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Lou Hamer went over to Africa too, I believe. One of my favorite pictures, if I could find it. Fannie Lou. Thank y'all for being. I'm gonna wrap it up because it's getting late. I know I don't want to get no complaints from the neighbors saying I'm loud and moving furniture and jumping around. This house of pain, jump around. Yeah. Thank y'all for hanging out with me tonight. I might do some shows. I'm gonna try to do some shows this week. There's so much stuff going on, man. It's weird being me right now. I think God said, "Ron, hold on." The ancestors told me, the righteous ancestors told me, if I do this work, they'll take care of me. So I'm gonna keep on trying to do this work. Yeah. Keep on trying to do this work. Just want to show y'all this picture. It's one of my favorite pictures of Fannie Lou. I love this picture. That's how Black people are so magical. Let me find it. You can't tell me that ain't a powerful picture right there. You cannot tell me that's not a powerful picture. Muhammad Ali and Fannie Lou Hamer. These are heavyweights. I mean, giants in terms of black self-determination, liberation, and all that stuff. The Louisville Lip and Fannie Lou Hamer. Black people, we are some amazing people. Producer Fannie Lou Hamer and a Muhammad Ali. I appreciate y'all enjoying the knowledge. I hope it, people are like, well, you all over the place. This is so much shit to talk about. And also, think about it, if I could think of it. Yeah, I love this picture, man. Black people, we are phenomenal. That's why I said we gotta remember our people, man. Like, yeah, George Floyd, it was horrible what happened to him. Breonna Taylor, horrible. Sandra Bland, but look at, my thing is, yes, we must remember the victims, but also look at our victors, man. Our fighters, man, who dedicated themselves, who sacrificed themselves for the good of our people. Both of these folks were kind of taken out prematurely. Like Fannie Lou Hamer, I really do believe that the beating she got in that jail cell in Winona, Mississippi, caused her to die early. Not just, people say, well, her diet. I said, nah, it's those beatings she got. Because she almost died. Them black boys, males, almost killed Fannie Lou Hamer because the white dudes told them to kill her. I don't know how she survived that brutal beating. Winona is horrible because that's the hometown of Curtis Flowers. If y'all familiar with Curtis Flowers, he was tried 6 times for the same thing with circumstantial evidence in Mississippi. He was like the real Green Mile. He was the real Green Mile, Groundhog Day. That's Curtis Flowers. He was released a year ago from prison. He was on death row. See, they accused Curtis Flowers of a quadruple homicide. They said that he killed his former employer, Bertha Tardy of Tardy Furniture, and her 3 employees. And they had nothing to really connect Curtis Flowers. All they had was a Grant Hill Fila shoe footprint. You know what I mean? People were wearing like Grant Hill Fila shoes back in 96, 97. So that's all they had on. They had no fingerprint or nothing. They just had, that he was fired by Bertha Tardy and that he might have been a disgruntled employee. But they had nothing really connecting him to the scene. And, and it was so much stuff happening around that time. I heard there was a killing spree going on with a young person was killing folks in multiple states, like in Alabama, Mississippi. You had a teenager, I think it was a teenager that was going around killing folks during that summer. And he got caught, so he could have killed them people. Then I heard that there was a family feud over who controls the furniture business. Like it could have been some of her relatives or in-laws, whatever, that killed her because they were fighting over the rights to the furniture business that she was running. And I interviewed Curtis Flowers' family and friends, his mother, journalists and activists who supported Curtis Flowers. I went to his appeal hearing before the Mississippi State Supreme Court. I recorded it back in 2014. I interviewed his lawyer who presented on his appeal. And I remember talking to his mom on one of my shows, and they had his case. They did it over and over again. They did it 6 times. And I think this one was in Biloxi. They put it in different places in Mississippi because he couldn't get no fair trial in Winona because that prosecutor was so overzealous. This guy was just focusing on Curtis Flowers. He had no other suspects besides Curtis Flowers and really had no real evidence tying Curtis Flowers to the crime. And then he had a jailhouse snitch that lied on Curtis Flowers and said that he confessed. But before I get to that, let me say, let me get off this picture. His mom was at a trial for Curtis in Biloxi, I believe. And Bertha Tardy's, one of the victims, the lady who owned the store, her daughter came to Curtis Flowers' mom during recess. I think she was offering her something to eat or something to take her to lunch, some stuff. She said, the mama told me that the daughter of Bertha Tardy said, we know that your son did not kill my mom and no people, but somebody got to pay. We know he didn't do it, but somebody got to go down for the crimes. And you know what's interesting about Curtis Flowers? He's like that dude out. He was like Michael Clark Duncan off of Green Mile. He was on death row. They moved around different prisons throughout the state of Mississippi. Never had one disciplinary problem. There was never a complaint about his behavior. You had inmates and the correction officers. They had a lot of respect for Curtis Flowers. He gave them no problem. The guy, before he joined prison, he was a part of his father's family gospel group. He sung with his father around the state in a gospel group. So they never had one problem out of Curtis Flowers all them years he was in prison. So people say, I don't think he killed those people like that. Because how could he keep that going on for 20-some years? Like, keep that same demeanor, be that affable. Nobody believed he killed those people, but somebody got to go down for the crime. So the overzealous prosecutor in Winona utilized a jailhouse snitch to lie on Curtis Flowers, lie like he confessed, like Curtis confessed to him. And this guy had all type of privileges. He was able to get on Facebook. He had a cell phone, I believe. But here's the thing. That jailhouse snitch got out of prison, right? This dude ended up killing his baby mama and her mother and tried to kill his son. His son saw his father kill his mother and his grandmother. This jailhouse snitch that lied on Curtis Flowers. And I can't think of it's a podcast out that covered that case. These white girls, good do-gooders, right? But I respect them because they actually went down to Winona to live, to interview people about the case. They were advocates for Curtis Flowers. I think Stars or Showtime did a limited series on the case. I don't know if they're using it in my footage because I have not seen it. Because I remember somebody contacted me a couple years ago talking about, do you have any better resolution of the Mississippi Supreme Court appeals hearing that I covered? Because I went down to Jackson to cover it. I used my camera equipment, and they reached out to me. They some type of production company. Never heard back from them, but they did use my footage. I'm gonna find a way to get some money off of it. I haven't seen the Stars series. I don't know, but these white girls or white ladies, young white women, they did a podcast season about the Curtis Flowers case. I probably could Google it up about the podcast concerning Curtis Flowers. But by them doing their, podcast, interviewing people, they was able to provide enough new evidence to help them decide, let Curtis Flowers go. He didn't do this. He paid his debt to society, didn't owe anything. Let him go. So this man was able to walk off of death row about almost 2 years ago in December. And I can't make this up. The man was tried by 6 times on the same evidence. It's like crazy. And he was the only suspect ever looked at, as far as I know, for that quadruple homicide. So, yeah, I got a lot of that. I interviewed his mom several times. Jerry Mitchell, the award-winning Jerry Mitchell. I interviewed him. He won the MacArthur Genius Grant several years ago. He's a great writer. He writes for the Clarion Ledger, but he's the one to help get these, in the Mississippi burning case reopened. He provided, information on help to convict Byron Day LeBeckwith in the Medgar Evers assassination case. So I have led an interesting life. I have done some things, but I take stock of it as I'm in my 40s. Oh my God, I feel like I'm in the midlife crisis, but it's like I did some good for people. I know I helped get some information out on Curtis Flowers, but look that stuff up. But that's the same spot where they almost killed Fannie Lou Hamer in the prison, where the sheriff deputies told them black males to beat her. This is a black woman, y'all. Black males. I mean, they could have said no, and it could have cost them their life. But think about this: Emmett Till could not happen without black people helping them folks get Emmett Till. Because like I said, it was black males involved in the kidnapping, the torture, and the lynching of Emmett Till. Them 2 white boys and white brothers did not do it alone. They had black males helping them. Now, I interviewed Johnny B. Thomas back in 2012. He runs the Emmett Till Museum down at Glendora, Mississippi. Glendora is where the blues great harmonica player Sonny Boy Williamson II is from. There are 2 Sonny Boy Williamsons. And that's another story. I think I talked about that in an episode with George Hunt. But his father, Willie Lee Loggins, allegedly shot Emmett Till in the head. Now, this is a black male who allegedly shot Emmett Till in the head. And when that trial was happening with the brothers J.W. Milam and Roy Bryant, you had law enforcement hiding Willie Lee Loggins and some other guy, so they couldn't testify during the trial about what they knew. It was hidden. I think they hid Willie Lee Loggins in a jail cell in Charleston. I don't know, I forgot. But he said that his father said that he was the one who shot Emmett Till in the head. That's a black man. And that, his son, Johnny B. Thomas, he did his best to explain how, a lot of black folks back then were mentally enslaved. Like, we was not allowed, you just did things. It's like this, please, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do type of mindset. And they did things out of fear, not because they wanted to kill Emmett Till or do harm, but because they was afraid that they might be done harm to by the white folks. So yeah, when she got out of jail, it was around the same time Medgar Evers got killed. You right, Sister Sheila. It was when Fannie Lou Hamer got out of jail, the same time when Medgar got killed. Let me see if I can find some more. Give y'all Fannie Lou Hamer before I get out of here. Cause I know people, man, he ain't talk about Fannie Lou Hamer. He did a little bit about Fannie Lou Hamer. But yeah, check out my cousin, Julian Mayfield. I'm gonna talk about him in some more shows with an expert on his life. Let's see if I can find that Fannie Lou Hamer statue. If y'all ever come to the Delta, man, come to Ruleville and pay y'all respects to Fannie Lou Hamer. She's buried with her husband, Pap Hamer, in Ruleville. I mean, I made that pilgrimage about 3 times to my understanding. I think it's been 3 times I've been down there. It's beautiful. It is gorgeous. Yeah, but man, I always tell people, man, I try to be a good hostess. Like when people come down here, I try to take, it's so much history in Memphis and the Mississippi Delta that a lot of people here don't take advantage of. It's a damn shame. You don't have to go to no museum or nothing. It's just so much here. Okay, that's the statue. Let me get a better picture. Oh man, it is so much here, man. It is so much history. Like I'll tell my Emmett Till, that spot where that store is, it's not that far away from Memphis. Maybe like a 2-hour plus drive in LaFleur County, Greenwood. And you go Greenwood, there where Robert Johnson got poisoned at that club in Greenwood. He's buried outside of Greenwood. I really do believe that's his grave outside of Greenwood at Mount Zion Church. I believe his name is Mount Zion. I've been there before. And I remember that my friend, Sister Margaret Block, she's a legend in the civil rights movement. She passed away back in 2015. She took me to the church where Robert Johnson's supposed to be buried at. They said there's several locations where Robert Johnson is buried at, but she took me to that church outside of Greenwood. And I promise you this, it was weird. I believe it was like in March, right? This is back 2012. She took me down there in March. It was hot. It was weird. It was hot that day. We was looking for his grave. I found a woman who said that she witnessed Robert Johnson being buried by her husband in the church graveyard. She was buried there. She died maybe like in the last 15 years. And then you was looking for his grave, and all of a sudden, like maybe 50 yards away or something. I don't know. I'm not good. Maybe 25 yards. I don't know. Away, there was Robert Johnson's tombstone. And it was weird. As soon as we found that tombstone, me and Margaret, it got cold real quick. The temperature dropped. You could feel a wind breeze hit us. Blackbirds started flying out of nowhere. Man, I pulled my trumpet out, started playing some Robert Johnson licks. I could have sworn I recorded it, but I didn't have no footage of it. I said, I never played like this before. I know. I said, oh my God. Oh, it sounds better than you normally play. I said, actually, it was interesting, very inspired, because like the temperature dropped, the blackbirds started flying out of nowhere, and I started hitting those notes, and I thought that stuff was recorded. It wasn't recorded. I don't know. Robert Johnson maybe erased it, but that was interesting. And like I said, man, the Mississippi Delta is so majestic and mystical. And it's like you look at, if y'all fans of Lovecraft Country, it's magical, man, because you go to Dockery Plantation. I remember I went to the Crossroads in Clarksdale. Clarksdale is where Sam Cooke and Ike Turner, Rick Ross the rapper, Nate Dogg smoke weed every day. So many musicians come out of Clarksdale. Bessie Smith died there. Muddy Waters is from Coahoma County. He used to go to Clarksdale all the time. John Lee Hooker. And I remember I went to the Crossroads. They said what a Crossroads is located in Clarksdale. Now, the Crossroads today look different than how it was for Robert Johnson back in the 30s and 20s. It's all built up. You got a barbecue restaurant on one side. You got Church's Chicken on the other side, liquor store, grocery store, whatever. But I went there a couple years ago at midnight. I want to prove. I said, let me go here at midnight, because they said Robert Johnson went to the Crossroads at midnight to make the deal with the devil. So I went there at midnight. Now, it's not the same how it was. It's not all spooky because you got like buildings and stuff around and light. Nothing happened, but then I saw this big black dog come out of nowhere and start walking in the intersection. It didn't bother me or nothing. It was a big black dog that came out of nowhere. And this is after midnight. I said, oh, okay, maybe is that the devil? Me and the devil. Yeah. I saw leg ball. Okay. Well, I like to hang around cemeteries. I really do enjoy hanging around cemeteries. I like to go to historic cemeteries to eat my lunch and hang around and clear my thoughts, because dead people don't bother you. They don't care if you smacking loud, if you got bad table etiquette, or they're not asking you for your food and nothing like that, and they can't complain about anything. So they dead. But it gives me a way to meditate and clear my thoughts and think about things. So I like going to cemeteries because I'll travel the country, and one of the first things I do is try to find a historic cemetery to go meditate in. So it is beautiful money, Miss Hammy. Guess who donated money to that monument? Bill Cosby. Dr. Bill and Camille Cosby donated money to make that monument a reality. See, people shit on Bill Cosby. Like I was talking about the Bahia pipeline they're trying to build through Memphis, and Al Gore came to Memphis this Sunday. Bill Cosby, y'all don't understand. Them rape allegations didn't start coming back up until Bill and Camille was trying to stop Kinder Morgan from building a pipeline through their property, along with some other environmentalists and conservationists. Because they believe in land conservation. They got a whole bunch of land out there in the Northeast. You got this East Coast energy giant called Kinder Morgan. See, Dr. Camille Cosby wrote an op-ed. I don't believe she wrote it in March of 2014, speaking out against Kinder Morgan and their idea to build a pipeline through all that precious land. And by the end of 2014, that's when Bill Cosby started getting in trouble again. That's when the stuff started hitting the fan again. So people don't understand. Y'all think it's all about some women. It's like with Cuomo. Them nursing home deaths should be the reason why he should resign, not because of some misunderstood booty call. Like it should be the nursing home deaths. But if they focus on nursing home deaths, that means other governors and other states will be in trouble too. Some in particular Democratic governors of other states will be in trouble because they also probably was hiding the numbers of people dying in the nursing homes during this COVID pandemic. You understand what I'm saying? So it's sad how they do this stuff, because people, they sensationalize the sex crap, but they not focused on anything of substance. It's like, okay, let's say it. And I really do believe if Cuomo, if it was like he was involved in some male on male action, this sex stuff would not be a problem. But because it's a heterosexual thing, it's a problem. And so it's interesting. You don't mind if I'm snacking, but oh man, being in your company, I bet I probably be on my best behavior if I was in your company. Yeah, I try to honor ancestors, but we gotta do a better job of being stewards of our history. We can't let these Hollywood people take advantage of people like Fannie Hamer. Like I applaud Common, and I'll show you the Common thing, and then I'm gonna close it out. I think I talked Hamer, Fannie Lou. Let me say something. I love Fannie Lou Hamer. Let me see. You know, them white folks were afraid of Fannie Lou Hamer when she went to the Democratic National Convention. They was afraid because she was doing testimony before the Credentials Committee, and LBJ did an impromptu press conference about nothing. That's how much afraid they were of this black woman who did not realize she couldn't vote until she was 44 years old. You know, they didn't get seated. They refused to compromise their principles. But because of what Fannie Lou Hamer did, you know, John Lewis was a part of it as well. He was part of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. But what they did in 64 led to Mississippi having more elected black officials than any state in the union. So they really did a paradigm shift. When them black folks said, we sick and tired of being sick and tired. Even Fannie Lou Hamer ran for Congress back in 1967 and she lost. But man, think about it, man. That lady was amazing. That lady was amazing. She ran for the U.S. Senate back in 64 too, huh? Let me see. I'm gonna read some stuff. And then I'm about to close it out on y'all, because y'all can find some Fannie Lou Hamer stuff. Let me talk about that sterilization. While having surgery in 1961 to remove a tumor, 44-year-old Hamer was also given a hysterectomy without consent by a white doctor. This was a frequent occurrence under Mississippi's compulsory sterilization plan to reduce the number of poor blacks in the state. Now, I realize Mississippi is almost 40% black. From my understanding, the population of Mississippi is almost 40% black. And you think about the white terrorism over the years, Mississippi should have had several black governors and U.S. senators easily. But because the state sponsored white terrorism and also this eugenics thing they was doing, it undermined, you know, the population. So that's something to think about. Hamer is credited with coining the phrase Mississippi appendectomy as a euphemism for the involuntary or uninformed sterilization of black women common in the South in the 1960s. She came out of an extended period in the hospital for nervous exhaustion in January 1972 and was hospitalized again in January 1974 for a nervous breakdown. By June 1974, Hamer was said to be in extremely poor health. 2 years later, she was diagnosed with and had surgery for breast cancer. Hamer died of complications of hypertension and breast cancer on March 14, 1977, age 59, at Tabarine Hospital, Mound Bayou, Mississippi. She was buried in her hometown of Ruleville, Mississippi. Her tombstone is engraved with one of her famous quotes, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." Her primary memorial service held at a church was completely full. An overflow service was held at Ruleville Central High School with over 1,500 people in attendance. Andrew Young, United States Ambassador to the United Nations, spoke at the service, saying, "None of us would be where we are now had she not been there then." See, Andrew Young just had his birthday on March the 12th. He's what is he? 89, born 1932. So I mean, they killed her, man. Unlike, you know, George Floyd, yeah, it took them almost 9 minutes to kill him. And then Breonna Taylor, they killed her the way they killed her. But they tortured Fannie Lou Hamer. She was tortured by the state for years. This country crucified Fannie Lou Hamer. She didn't die from no natural causes. They killed her. They killed Fannie Lou Hamer. They killed her womb and then they killed her. Died from a broken heart and broken body, man. See, these people don't understand this work is hard on black people, man. It's hard on us. Let's see. Try to see. It's so much y'all should read about Fannie Lou Hamer because she did things. James Eastland, that's Joe Biden's mentor, the senator from Mississippi, the very powerful senator from Mississippi, who unleashed or released rather Emmett Till's father's military files to the press in order to make sure that they wouldn't try J.W. Malin and Roy Brown for kidnapping charges. James Eastland, a white senator, this is Joe Biden's mentor, was among the groups of people who sought to keep African Americans disenfranchised and segregated from society. Its influence over the overarching agricultural industry often suppressed minority groups to keep whites as the only power force in America. Hamer objected to this and consequently pioneered the Freedom Farm Cooperative in 1969, an attempt to redistribute economic power across groups and to solidify an economic standing amongst African American. In the same vein as the Freedom Farm Collective, Hamer partnered with the National Council of Negro Women to establish an interracial and interregional support program called the Pig Project to provide protein for people who previously could not afford meat. Wow. Hamer made it her mission to make land more accessible to African Americans. To do this, she started a small pig bank with a starting donation from the National Council of Negro Women of 5 boars and 50 gilts. Through the pig bank, a family could care for a pregnant female pig until it bore offspring. Subsequently, they would raise the piglets and use them for food and financial gain. Within 5 years, thousands of pigs were available for breeding. Hamer used the success of the bank to begin fundraising for the Maine Farming Corporation. She was able to convince the then editor of the Harvard Crimson, James Fallows, to write an article that advocated for donations to the Freedom Farm Cooperative. Eventually, the FFC had raised about $8,000, which allowed Hamer to purchase 40 acres of land previously owned by a black farmer who could no longer afford to occupy the land. This land became the Freedom Farm. The farm had 3 main objectives. These were to establish an agricultural organization that could supplement the nutritional needs of America's most disenfranchised people, to provide acceptable housing development, and to create an entrepreneurial business incubator that would provide resources for new companies and retraining for those with limited education but manual labor experience. Over time, the FFC offered various other services such as financial counseling, a scholarship fund, and a housing agency. The FFC aided in securing 35 federal housing administration subsidized houses for struggling black families. Through her success, Hamer managed to acquire a new home, which served as inspiration for others to begin building themselves up. The FCC ultimately disbanded in 1975 due to lack of funding. In 1971, Hamer co-founded the National Women's Political Caucus. She emphasized the power women could hold by acting as a voting majority in the country regardless of race or ethnicity, saying a white mother is no different from a black mother. The only thing is they haven't had as many problems, but we cried the same tears. So I just, Fannie Lou had the answers. Fannie Lou had the answers. Y'all talking about contract with Black America. See what Ice Cube doing, and a lot of people shit on Ice Cube. Fannie Lou Hamer was actually doing it. This is a black woman who didn't have a great formal education, who spent most of her life on the plantation, who's been so abused and so overworked and so bullied by the system. But yet she had the solution. She had the blueprint back then. You see, we were closer to liberation than we are now. And that's a damn shame. She had it. Look at so-called all these black celebrities and these black politicians, Congressional Black Caucus. They have a budget that Fannie Lou Hamer could only dream of having. She was able to do shit without no money. Homes, buying land, raising pigs, creating businesses. This is a black woman. She was doing this stuff and she's dead. She died for us. And so I'll be damned. Well, if she had $27 million, $19 million, $13 million, she was a victim of police brutality. Look what she was able to do with $8,000. So what I'm saying is, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. The ancestors have already laid out the blueprint, and they already did some of these things. And she had nervous break. Think about it. Dr. King used to get checked into the hospital for nervous exhaustion. Dr. King had nervous tics. See, we got to tell the truth about our people, man. Dr. King had nervous tics. He do all that shit. He check himself in for nervous exhaustion, stay up for days at a time. When he died, he had a cigarette in his hand. He never wanted people to see him drinking or having cigarettes. But they got a picture of Dr. King with Andrew Young at the airport. He's smoking a cigarette, all cool with it. Smoking him a cool Virginia Slims or whatever he was smoking. But I'm saying, you pay a price for this work. Dr. King, when he died, Dr. King was killed at 39, but the coroner said he had the heart of a 60-plus-year-old man. That means Dr. King was going to even live that long. He was going to die prematurely anyway. But like Dick Gregory said, it's not how you live, it's how you die that a lot of times people remember you. It's like Biggie said, you're nobody till somebody kills you. Yeah, people got to remember that. Yeah, I mean, she was a black woman. She was a woman. She was not, she out there, she was in front line like a man, man. She's like she was playing football out there. Yeah, we forget. We put a lot on our people, man. Black people, we put a lot on our people, man. We had some of the best and brightest, man. We keep on talking we need a leader. We had the best and brightest, and we did them wrong. We had a Malcolm, we had a Dr. King, we had a Fannie Hamer, we had a Fred Hampton, we had Marcus Garvey, we had Elijah, Ida B. Wells. We had our leaders. Well, she did change. All we gotta do is remember her. And like I said, research her, learn from her mistakes, and learn from her victories. Plant those seeds. I mean, the marathon continues, right? I mean, but we do ourselves a disservice when we act like she never existed. You understand? Like, she talk about a dude, right? When she was growing up, this guy named Joe Pullen. Look him up, Joe Pullen. Joe Pullen was from Drew, Mississippi. He was a sharecropper. The white dude that he was sharecropper for, he found he was cheating him out his money, whatever. Ended up killing him, I think. Got into a gunfight with a whole bunch of white people. Got into the shoot. He killed a whole bunch of white people. And they ended up capturing him. And they tortured and lynched him and dragged him down the street of Drew, Mississippi. Now, you got to realize Drew, Mississippi is where Archie Manning is from. Archie Manning is the patriarch of the Manning football dynasty. His sons are Peyton and Eli Manning. Archie Manning played for Ole Miss, but he's from Drew, Mississippi. And I'm sure he know about this story because it made national news because Marcus Garvey and UNIA said they made this man a hero. He was a folk hero. And they talked about his exploits in the Negro world in the Marcus Garvey paper. But Fannie Hamer knew about him when she was growing up. You know what I'm saying? She heard about the legend of Joe Pullen taking on the white folk, shooting out, killing a whole bunch of white people. And she said it was a long time before white folk messed with black folks like that again. But look up Joe Pullen. So she grew up with that story, but she didn't know that she had rights until she was 44 years old of voting. That's a good question. You got to be your leader. You got to have your own moral compass. You can't depend on society to dictate your morality to you. Society is amoral. You as an individual, like it go back what Neely Fuller said, that we all our own organizations. So we got to come up with our own bylaws to govern ourselves. See, we all want to tell them we got to be together. I don't want to be with everybody because everybody is not for the right things. And everybody, just because they look like you, don't mean we in the same tribe. So we got to discern that, but we got to get on the same page with yourself. You got to get right with me, myself, and I. You got to get in line, in tune with who you are before you try to figure out how to combine and merge with other people. It's not worth it right now. This should be a time of intense study for black people. And what I'm talking about with Fannie Hamer and all this stuff, this is part of military science. Military science is the study of history, is the understanding of propaganda and how to apply and leverage propaganda to your greatest advantage. Because you got to understand the power of media. Like in war, one of the first things you do when you invade a country or some type of entity is to control their information dissemination apparatus. Like, for example, an invading army could be losing the war, but if they control the media of the country that they invaded, they can convince the people of that country that are indigenous to that country that they are the ones that are losing, and could still win the war because you win the war of propaganda. But if you think about even, you look at, okay, Vietnam War, you could say from a militarily point of view that the United States never lost a war in Vietnam, a battle in Vietnam. They never lost a battle in Vietnam, but they lost the war because of perception of the propaganda, how the public perceived what was going on when they were showing them GIs coming back in them coffins with the flags on top, and how that demoralized the American public and the American psyche, you know. Or then you look at George Washington, who lost more battles than he won, but he still won the Revolutionary War. George Washington lost more battles than he won, but still won the American Revolutionary War. So it's interesting how this stuff works. Oh, salute. Salute to that. And Fannie Lou, like I said, she was the 20th child of her parents. So we as black people gotta stop this abortion bullshit. There's no reason why we should be killing our kids, because they already killing us, and we killing the messiahs that should be coming to help us out. We can't talk about, oh, war is me, when you killing the folks that could be helping liberate us. You keeping them from coming to the planet. We got to stop that. We got to start loving ourselves more. That's for men and women. You know what I'm saying? We got to start loving each other more and stop letting these folks define the terms of our existence and our relationships with each other. Because we need each other right now. Because our black women have been weaponized against the liberation of black people. That's why I talk about Fannie Lou Hamers and the Ida B. Wellses and people like that. We need to remember these ancestors who love black people, who serve black people, who risk their lives and sacrifice themselves for our people to get free. There's no reason why we should not remember these people. It's like, you know, people talking about Breonna Taylor. Once again, I don't want to sound like I'm an old fogey and stuff like that, or I'm a curmudgeon or a hater. What I'm saying is, yes, justice for Breonna Taylor, but also justice for Sister Alberta Odell Jones, the lawyer who put her life on the line to empower black folks through the vote, who helped Cassius Clay with his first contract, make sure that he had a trust fund for him in his first contract with the Louisville group. The woman who was sending white men to jail for domestic violence. Don't forget about what they did to that sister back in August of '65. She needs justice in Louisville just as much as Breonna Taylor. And she's been waiting longer. Where's the beg for her family? Where's the beg for Darren King D. Seals' family? Darren King D. Seals should not be forgotten about. He should be just as well as remembered as Fred Hampton Sr. for his sacrifice and commitment to serving and liberating black people. You know, it's so many, like Corey Bush should do more to find out what happened to not only him, but DeAndre Johnson and so many activists in Ferguson who have been lynched or killed under mysterious circumstances. And even the ones who are still rotting away in the judicial just us system. Something needs to be done to help those brothers and sisters out. Because we all been traumatized, post-traumatic slave disorder. We all been hurt. We all been abused, traumatized, beaten up, bullied. We all need each other. We need to help each other out in times like this. We need it. So this is why I'm gonna shut up now. Yeah, it's spiritual. Yeah. We need a black family. Yes, we do. Yeah, she was real big mama. Fannie Lou Hamer was like a real big mama. We don't have big mamas no more. We have hot grandmamas trying to be like their granddaughters. We have hot grandmamas, little hot grandmamas. You know, it's like things are so different right now. Our priorities are screwed as a people. Yeah, 9-4 crime bill really messed us up. But yeah, I think that I want to keep going, but you know, I want to be nice to my neighbors. I don't want to say, "Oh, Robert around talking revolution and overthrow." We kind of go to sleep. We got to work our plantation jobs. So I'm gonna wrap it up. Yeah, we need some real grandmas. You can still look good. You know, it's some good looking. You can help. Look, it's weird though, because I'm not judging nobody, but it's some beautiful women got all these tattoos. I'm not fine. If you make it to 80, how are those tattoos gonna look? Are they gonna age well on your body? If you 80 years old with them tattoos, because there's some beautiful sisters out here all tattooed, they cover their beautiful skin up for whatever reason. I'm not judging nobody, because I know Dick Gregory was saying that tattoos are the sign of revolution. He said when the Japanese came to when they invaded mainland China back in the day, they were looking for folks with tattoos, with young people with tattoos, because that's a sign of revolution. I know it was interesting, something about hair too. Can you go back to the Bible with Samson? I mean, when I was up in Ferguson, I went to Mike Brown funeral, and up in Ferguson, it's a lot of brothers and sisters with long dreads and stuff. Now they like, to me, I feel like it was a lot of electricity in the air because a lot of these folks wearing their hair real long. I'm thinking maybe that's a sign of revolution. But the thing about it is, if we don't know who we are, we don't know when it's time to be revolutionary. If you don't study history, you'll be history. So it's like go back to what the dude Roy Bryant said about black folks not being afraid how they were back in the 50s, but they don't know anything. What good is to be fearless if you don't know any knowledge yourself or who your enemies are? What good is it to be courageous when you don't know what you're fighting for, or what you even laying your life down for, So I mean, it's something to be asked. I'm like I said, I'm not, hating on nobody, but I just think it's weird that I don't see any other group of people, like even when Jewish people elevate their victims, they all get in the bed. You know what I'm saying? They got a code. Like they got a code. Like, black folks talking about this code. We don't have a code. Not as a group. Individuals have code, but you look at even in the Judaism, it teaches them to take care of your community first. Be one. People say, well, we black folks, the Hebrews. Okay, if we the Hebrews, we forgot that we knew that we knew. We are the fathers and mothers of civilization. We are not only indigenous to the Americas, we are indigenous to the planet. We forgot that we knew what we knew then. Because if your religion don't teach you to invest in community, you got a gutter religion. Because Jews, they invest in their community, they invest in each other. I mean, when I went on a tour of Brooklyn several years ago, we went to Williamsburg. And it was weird. It was interesting. You see them Jews with the long hair. We called them, they wear the hats. They wear black. You got the long little sideburn things. Hasidic Jews, right? And they're talking about, the tour guide was saying how they don't really go to college, but on every street, they had a learning academy with a school bus. And, they had community. They controlled their education and they controlled their economics. So black folk, we talking about we don't live in communities. Like Dick Gregory said, you live in neighborhoods. You don't even control your corner store. Who owns and runs that corner grocery store? You don't. Who runs and owns that gas station? We don't. So if you don't control your education and economics, you can't control your community. We are very self-centered, and we've been programmed to be that way. Cause that's against who we are as a people. When I talk about Judaism, that's an African religion. That's a melanated religion, and we've been told like we're not communists. We not forget communism. We need communalism. We were communalists, not communists. See, everything that we have innovated as black people, white folks bastardize. White folks bastardize our religion. They bastardize our culture. And that's why and then the sad thing about it, we want to be like them, as well as loved by them. So, but white folks hate themselves. So how you want them to love you and they don't got no love for themselves? It's weird. It is strange. Yeah, we want to look good, but it's a cost to pay for that. It's like I look at black people, we as a people are in a state of arrested development. Black people got to be the only group on the planet that pride themselves on looking good while they're old and not leaving shit for anybody. Like, oh, I look good. Look how long. I only look my age, but you ain't leaving shit for nobody. You're not even leaving a good name. Just leaving a whole bunch of debt, but you look good though. You dead, but you a good looking corpse, girl. You a good looking corpse. Dead, you dead. I ain't talking about lying in the casket. I'm talking about spiritual dead. You just a zombie. You a good looking zombie, a walking corpse. Ain't leaving nothing for nobody. Well, maybe it's time to make that school. Yeah, I gotta shut it down. I ain't know I'm gonna be on long. Sometimes I be dragging my feet on these podcasts. I don't want to do no podcast, and then I can't get out the damn podcast. But somebody make a point. Checkmate. Okay. Here's the thing. 2020 should taught you we're gonna have to start educating our children ourselves, man. We're gonna have to start finding a way to work together to educate our children. They're not getting educated in school. 2020 was like a godsend. I know it was tough. And 2021 is tough too, but we survived 2020. We'll get to 2021. But if 2020 didn't teach you anything, that if you don't care about your children's education, nobody cares about your children's education. So it's really been time long ago for us to get our learning stuff correct and start having our own control about education and our economics. Education and economics come hand in hand. We need more vocational training. You know what I'm saying? Like, there shouldn't be no shortage on plumbers right now. I mean, that's a recession-proof job to be a plumber. You always gonna need plumbing or plumbers as long as you have civilization. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, but this is the reason why I talk about Fannie Lou Hamer. You saw the stuff she was doing. This woman's been on a nervous, exhaustion, breakdowns, and yet she still was serving the people, buying up farmland, starting co-ops, creating housing, creating job opportunities, business opportunities for her people. She did all this stuff. She didn't hold no public office. She didn't have no big budget. She had a big heart, and she was willing to give until she gave out. She worked herself to death for our people. And it's a travesty that her name is not really a household name among Black people. So-called, a lot of us Christian and all this stuff. Yeah. It's time for us to create. This is time of innovation. If y'all really are serious about education, just do it, man. And it starts at the local level. It starts in your home. It starts in your neighborhood. It starts at your, whatever. Start it. And the thing about it is we're not going to solve our problems on social media. Social media could be used to highlight what's going on with us and try to connect. But a lot of the work that needs to be done is going to be done off social media, offline. And some of it will be done behind closed doors in the shadows. We can't broadcast everything that we're doing. You see how that works out for Black folks when we tell everybody, it's like in those scary movies or no movies. I'm gonna expose you, Tim. I know everything you're doing. Instead of your ass going to the authorities, you're gonna stop by Tim's house and tell him in his house that you're gonna sell him out or expose him, or and you don't even make it. You don't even get a chance to send a text, let alone an email. You get killed under questionable circumstances. We too busy want to show up and show out in front of the wrong people. Like when Ron Brown confronted Bill Clinton in the Oval Office about the China stuff, because he was the bag man for Bill Clinton. No, Ron Brown was the Secretary of Commerce, and he was threatening Bill Clinton in the Oval Office allegedly that if you don't protect my son from going to jail, I'm gonna tell the whole world about all this money you get from China. And guess what happened to Ron Brown? We don't have to guess what happened to Ron Brown. Just Google it up. Dick Gregory had the autopsy photos of how he got shot in his head. It sounded like he just died in a plane crash. It was an airline stewardess that survived the plane crash. They knew she was going to make it. So when she got airlifted to the hospital, they broke her neck on the way to the hospital. Ron Brown didn't die in a plane crash. It was a professional hit. It was made to look like a plane crash. Look up Mickey Leland. Yeah. Hey, bury like to paraphrase Dr. John Henry Clark, you bury the person and continue the plan. Yeah, the marathon continues. Yes, definitely. We could do that, but we got to study what she was doing. Because I remember when I went down to visit her resting place, it was like a pilgrimage for me. Because I'm gonna tell you something. When you go to where she's buried at with her husband, it's still a Black neighborhood, but it's like you can feel like the love emanating from that area. You can feel it's a powerful love. It's a powerful feeling of love and all types of possibilities. Because the last time I went was with my mom and sister. Like when I played at the beginning of this podcast, that was like the Thanksgiving weekend. I went down there with my mom and sister. We just came from the Emmett spot, the Brian store. And it was like a scene from Lovecraft Country. That the energy was so intense and so like we was all on edge because we was at that Brian store, right, taking pictures. Then all of a sudden, it's like on cue, these folks stop driving their cars, kicking up dirt on this dirt road, right? They start driving their cars up and down the street real fast, trying to intimidate us. Like it was like a scene from Lovecraft Country. And this is the middle of the day. And we were like, man, what these people trying to do to us? Why are they trying to scare us? Because it's spooky. Like, because the fact that store still stands. And this is, we left that part, we left LaFleur County, going to Ruraville, different energy, more tranquil, very loving and calming energy. Like I said, every time I go to Fannie Lou Hamer's resting place, it's like a pilgrimage. And if y'all ever in the Delta, y'all should make it y'all business to go pay your respects to Fannie Lou and Pap Hamer, But anyway. Yeah, they lied about the weather. They killed did they kill one of the air traffic controllers? Did they lied about the weather conditions? Of course they did, because really, from my understanding, the plane that Ron Brown died in was actually a plane that Hillary was supposed to have been on. But they changed planes or something. But anyway, it is what it is, man. It's a dirty game. Yeah, research fan on here. But thank y'all once again. This is all my artwork back here. People ask me, I'm wearing my artwork, my Nipsey Hussle shirt. You can get that at Teespring. Nipsey Hussle anniversary coming up March 31st. Go below the description box of this YouTube video. And yeah, this is all my work back here. I got the Loneliest Monk, Emmett Till, and Baby Jesus. You can't see Baby Jesus, but he got a crown over his head, right? Baby Jesus, big baby Jesus. So yeah, a lot of my stuff is history oriented and it's about our culture. So I might do a couple of shows about my artwork and my philosophy on art. But thank y'all for listening. Like the words from Brother Herb, please subscribe. We All Be TV, YouTube while you can. Spread the word. Help us get to 100,000 subscribers. I know I'm supposed to be at 100,000 by now, but they do a lot of shadow banning and stuff on my videos. But it's funny that, even though I don't have the numbers of a lot of bigger YouTube channels, that people recognize the work and they recognize me, or they recognize the voice. And I get these phone calls or emails and texts and donations, people thanking me for the work I'm doing. So I'm glad that the work I'm doing is not in vain, and that it is provide some type of substance to the people. And I know I'm long-winded, and I've been on here for almost 3 hours. So I'm gonna close it out. Yeah, they do cheat me, I know, but it is what it is. I sell my print. I got my r2c2h2.com website. And yeah, you can buy prints at r2c2h2.com. It's my website. And also you could Google Pay, PayPal, Zelle support r2c2h2@gmail.com, Cash App, $ r2c2h2. And I have some announcements coming up very soon. But yeah, you like the Monk piece. I love the Loneliest Monk, man. He was interesting because people, I talked to some musicians, they don't really like his stuff. I like his stuff because it's unique, it's him. And he could play like everybody else. I mean, he actually was a virtuoso in his own right, but he chose to play the way he felt. And his work is very, like, he's the most recorded jazz composer behind Duke Ellington. And his output was way, way less than Duke Ellington's output. But yet, his stuff is so unique. And what I love about Monk, his stuff is made for horn players. Like, you think about, there's never a bad version to me around midnight, especially ones done by Miles Davis and John Coltrane. And you think about when Coltrane went to Thelonious, it took him to the next level. Like after he was with Miles Davis, he went back to Miles Davis the second time. That's when he had his unique sound and had that, what do you call it? Walls of sound, whatever y'all call it. Y'all correct me. It's walls of sound that, giant steps and stuff that Coltrane was doing. But it was that workout he had with Thelonious. Thelonious was interesting. And like, what people don't understand, what's interesting about Thelonious and Charlie Parker, they both died with the same white woman, the jazz baroness, the Rothschild, the jazz baroness. Charlie Parker died in her hotel suite back on March 12th, 1955, the Stanhope Hotel. And Thelonious Monk died at her mansion in Weehawken, New Jersey, February 17th, 1982. And the person who lives in her mansion now, because she passed away some years ago, is Barry Harris. He's a great piano player from Detroit. great hard bop, bebop player. He was putting on at one point some of the largest jazz workshops or classes in New York. And I wanted to go see him last year, but the pandemic happened, So hopefully he could hang around. He's in his 90s. He's like he's still going strong though. But he's a master teacher, master artist. But Jazz Baroness, the Rothschild lady, she really loved the brothers that could play that jazz. But that's another story. I'll probably do a podcast about that. I talked about that a little bit. But it is what it is. Thank you. Our goes in history. Dead people talk to me all day. That's why I act the way I do. The ancestors told me if I take care of them, they'll take care of me. So we'll see. Have I seen the TH? Yeah, I thought about that producing the monk beer. I think I heard about the monk beer. I think I did hear about it. You said producing it. Yeah, I did think about that several times. It's a couple things I think about, because the anniversaries of all these people, like birthdays and historic events, it's like it just like every day I wake up with this stuff. It's like a burden. I want to share it with the people, and I thought about. I put so much stuff out there over the years. I just need to take the time to compile a lot of this stuff and put it out there, like as in calendars and books and stuff like that. And yeah, I thought about that many times. But I think for me, it's about discipline. Just having the discipline to just do it. I'm trying to learn how to deal with this. Because I guess overwhelming feelings I get, and I don't take any anxiety pills and nothing like that. And I'm not knocking it. I do take vitamins and stuff, but we'll see. Yeah, I heard about the beer. So it's named after Monk. I heard about it. I haven't tasted it. I don't really care for beer, but Monk is he has his own unique flavor. His music, I love Thelonious Monk, man. And it's like Duke Ellington said it. He said there's only two types of music: good music and bad music. But really, music is in the ear of the beholder. You know what I'm saying? Because everything ain't for everybody. Let's see. Yeah, they do spirit cooking. That's enough. Oh, you just watch. You just watch it. I've been on this long, huh? Yeah, that movie is timeless. It's just very relevant for today, man. And that's my cousin. I just like, man, Julian Mayfield. Wow. And like I said, the man, when Malcolm used to go to Ghana, he used to stay with his family. I talked to his son, Raphael, my cousin, for the first time this past week. He told me how when Malcolm was over there, he was like 9 years old. He used to jump in Malcolm's lap and he used to startle Malcolm. And I asked him, I said, was Malcolm really shy? He said, yeah, he was really shy. He said his mama told him, I think the last time she saw him or they saw him, she said, they're going to kill you. She told him, they said, they're going to kill you. And he just looked at her. He didn't say too much. He just like he accepted that they're going to kill him, But like every time, like with Dick Gregory talk about Malcolm or anybody talk about Malcolm, they always talk about how shy he was in person. Like, he's really like, he was out there, very extroverted, speaking before the masses, but one-on-one, he was very quiet and shy. And like Dick would say, it would make him uncomfortable how shy he was. And you wouldn't think about Malcolm being shy, but it's interesting. But yeah, that movie Uptight is great. I'm gonna look at it again myself because it's some stuff that was said in there that really like wow. But yeah, that's my cousin. I'm proud of him. It's amazing that I'm related to somebody like him. But it gives me comfort knowing that I'm not too strange. So we got a monkfish. Okay. So I guess as if people, thank y'all for tuning in. Let me read this disclaimer. I'll let y'all go. I've been held y'all hostage for way too long. Thank y'all for being patient with me. Disclaimer: the views expressed by hosts and guests on the We All Be TV platform are not the official views, opinions, beliefs, or perspectives of We All Be News or the We All Be Group, Inc., WLB News is an organization that thoroughly believes in supplementing the information narrative that is usually supplied by the corporate news entities with those viewpoints, expressions which may be marginalized or ignored for a plethora of reasons. We are about informing the general public on alternative perspectives as it relates to news and information, and letting the general public be the ultimate judge and decide on how to use said information. Informed citizens are responsible citizens. Thank you for your support, and thank you, family, once again for tuning in and not tuning out. The words of the great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. And I guess let me play this Fannie Lou Hamer tribute. It's only right that I play this to close it out. Something I did a while back. Let's see, it's still up here. Yeah, thank y'all so much. It's beautiful, man. Thank y'all. Y'all beautiful people. It's a blessing to have informed people at these things. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Peace.